Disclaimer. The following is a lecture on the main story of the original Code Lyoko animated series, its creation, and the legacy it left, researched and conducted by a lifelong fan of the franchise in order to show his love for it. Many subplots and one-off plot lines have been glossed over or omitted altogether in order to keep things as coherent and abbreviated as possible. This is not, however, meant as a replacement for watching the show, a be-all end-all guide, or anything more than transformative entertainment. Please support the official release at youtube.com/c/CodeLyoko English Official. Now, on with the lecture.
Boy, I sure hope we don't learn about big-headed French cartoons today.
It'd be a shame if anything childhood-related happened at all.
Yeah,
Ever.
I would hate if there was a show that was on Magoozy and I just got informed 100% completely by it. You know?
I sure hope this isn't some old thing.
Alright, children, settle down. So I said settle the fuck down. Alright? I understand there might have been some rowdy students in your last class. There might have been some troublemakers, some fuckheads. But we're not going to have any of that tonight. Alright? I run a tight ship here. And I want you to understand there's going to be a strict demerit system in this class. Alright? I have it written down right here on my handy-dandy notebook. AKA a Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. So, if at any point during my class you have a question, raise your hand. I want you to raise your hands right now so I know how you know how to do it. Okay. If you do not raise your hand, you will get a demerit. If you speak without raising your hand and it's not funny, aka it doesn't make me laugh, you'll get a demerit.
Oh, so I got an easy job then.
If you get... Do you want a demerit right now?
Isn't that the governor of Florida? Fuck off.
If you get up and go do something outside of this room without explaining yourself, you will get a demerit. If you use your phone without being prompted, you will get a demerit. If you complain about or mention my forehead at all, you will get a demerit. If you get free demerits, I'm gonna blow this whistle. And I'm going to blow it in your face. If you get free demerits more than one time, you're going to have to come up here and do push-ups. Free, to be precise. You got to work those demerits off. Now, if we are all good little boys and girls, and we obey the demerit system, we're not going to have any problems here. This is going to go great. I think this is going to be a good time for everybody. And why is that? Because today, we are going to be discussing... If I can do this without fucking it up. Code Lyoko. Code Lyoko is a French animated series that aired from 2003 to 2007. It also has a few spin-offs, a few extra materials that we are going to cover. I'm going to try and cover everything as best I can. I would consider myself a Code Lyoko expert. However, I am not all knowledgeable. There are things I will have to gloss over. As the disclaimer will have said at the start of the video, I will be skipping over some things entirely because they're not important to the main plot. Yes, Boingo Rider.
How French is this?
I mean, there's a dude whose last name is fucking Belpois. You tell me.
Oh man, bell peppers. I love bell peppers.
First and foremost, I need to check how familiar is the class with the material. Has anybody here read the syllabus? Anybody else? Yes. Cody. You've seen this show?
Yes.
How recently?
Watched a few episodes not too long ago, but I grew up watching them.
Okay. This might be more interesting than I thought then. Alright. So, I'm going to try to do my level best to kind of establish the background information of the show, the general world, and then we are going to go through the events of the show in continuity order. There's some fuckiness when it comes to that. I'll explain it as we go, but just know, like, I have things generally in the order that I feel you should talk to them about. And the main thing I want you to understand here is Code Lyoko has what I like to call Animorphs syndrome. Because Code Lyoko from the outside looks pretty fucking goofy. It's a weird show with a combination of 2D and 3D animation, which was very unheard of at the time. The art style's a little weird. You know, the main things, what are the main things that we hear in general pop culture when it comes to this show? Boingo Rider.
Something resembling Cody's forehead.
Yeah, it's... They got huge foreheads, dude! Isn't that fucking wacky, man? LOL! Or it's in regards to the plotline of the first season. Oh my god, it's a show about a guy 3D printing himself a girlfriend out of his waifu. Isn't that hilarious? Aren't I the first person to ever make that observation? No! Wrong! You're fucking stupid, and I see you in the back there. Shut the fuck up. Code Lyoko is an actually deep series, if you think about it, for more than a few minutes, and you actually pay attention to the whole show. The main themes of this show are childhood trauma, growing up, and becoming an adult. And they are handled in really expert and interesting ways that you don't catch on to in the first couple watches. I'll admit, I didn't realize that there was deeper meaning to the show until the third time I watched it, which was only like 2 or 3 years ago. Now, I always loved the show. It introduced me to a lot of sci-fi and action-adventure concepts I'd never seen before. It really awoke my thirst for kind of more fantastical media and helped me get my critical thinking skills kickstarted. I owe a lot to this show. Before this show, the most like deep thought I'd ever had was, man, Transformer toys are neat. I want more Transformer toys. But after this show is where it all kind of gets started for me. Like, you're Boingo Rider.
So after this show, you stopped obsessing over toys and became a real man?
No, fuck you. Demerit. Oh god.
That's why you smile.
Okay, I'm Demerit. So, the first thing we really need to do is go over the background information of Code Lyoko and what kind of led into the series becoming a thing. And it all starts with a man named Thomas Romain. Thomas Romain was an animation student in France, in the late 90s and early 2000s, and he made a student film called The Kids Make a Movie. It's very simple. There's not really a plot to it. It's just kind of some kids at a school throw together a little student film and then watch it. Boingo Rider.
Is he all that Romains?
No. Because he was then picked up by a company called Moonscoop, and they were partnered with Anti-Films, which were two like up-and-coming production companies in France at the time, to help develop a show they were working on called Garage Kids. And he did that with a woman named Tiana Palumbo. And basically, they made a lot of the concepts that would make it into Code Lyoko. Now, the reason The Kids Make a Movie is important and is on the board is because a lot of animation models that are used for characters in Code Lyoko first appear in The Kids Make a Movie. Yumi is in it, Jeremy is in it, Millie and Tamia are in it, I think Sissy's in it too. There might be a few more, I'm not sure. Also, one quick thing to mention for the viewers at home, whenever you hear this sound, that means I'm putting an image on screen so that there will be visual aid in post. So if you're watching this on another tab, be sure to click back whenever you hear. Alright, getting back into background information. Now, when they made Garage Kids, it was really just like a short film pilot for what they wanted to do with Code Lyoko. So a lot of the early concepts are in Garage Kids, and you can go out and watch Garage Kids and the Kids Make a Movie now. They're available online. I honestly wouldn't recommend it though, because they're not as entertaining as the actual show. They are very much rough concepts. Like, if you think the CGI in the early parts of Code Lyoko is bad, don't fucking watch Garage Kids. But Garage Kids is interesting because there's some differences in that, like, Odd is portrayed as more of an eyes-in character. He is very much meant to be the viewer's self-insert. They can use their superpowers from Lyoko on Earth to fight back against XANA, and just other little small things like that are different. But that would be the last of Tiana and Thomas's involvement with Code Lyoko. I don't know what exactly they went on to do after that. I just know they left the production like right around the time Code Lyoko was actually ready to go to air. And the main series was mainly done by the head writer Sophie D. Cressette and the main director Jerome Muscadet. Now, Boingo Rider.
When will he become a Moose Lieutenant?
Demerit. The whole what they did was basically they helmed the creative direction of the show from pretty much the first couple episodes that happened after the pilot onward. It is their creative vision from that point onward. The base concepts come from Thomas and Tiana. The actual story, the stuff that interests me honestly, comes from Sophie and Jerome. And the reason I mention these people specifically because it takes a lot of people to make an animated series. This show did have quite a big step, but Thomas, Tiana, Sophie, and Jerome are all the ones who get interviewed for this show all the time. So any background, any behind-the-scenes information I'm going to talk about will have come from interviews with them. Now, there's two more people we need to talk about, and that is Julian Lassanone. I think that's how you pronounce that. I'm not sure. I don't speak French. I apologize. I've never heard it said out loud. Go ahead.
Say it with a shitty French accent, you might get closer.
Lassanone.
There you go.
Okay. And you would know because you are actually French by descent. And then there is Noam Kaimel. You may actually know Noam Kaimel if you're watching this. I don't think you two will, but Noam Kaimel is famous for having partnered with a man named Haim Saban to make a lot of music for children's shows that Haim Saban was involved with. He was one of the people behind the 90s X-Men and Spider-Man themes. He helped out with a lot of early stuff for Power Rangers, and he came back later during the second Saban era of Power Rangers to basically do all the music for all of those seasons. Samurai, Megaforce, Dino Charge, Ninja Steel. The theme songs and the general background music for those seasons were all done by him, and they're all generic and they suck. But for this, he did the main theme, or at least he did the English version of the main theme, because the French version was by Julian. But Noam did the English lyrics for A World Without Danger, which was the main theme of Code Lyoko, and it fucking slaps. It's a goddamn bop. Go listen to it right now. Boingo Rider, what is your question?
Double check who wrote the X-Men theme, because that's not who wrote the X-Men theme, I don't think.
No, he did. If I said I wrote it, then or if I said he wrote it, then I misspoke. What I mean is he contributed to it. He was working on it. He was a sound engineer. And
okay, so he was a sound engineer and like staff musician.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe the actual final mix for the '90s X-Men theme was Ron Wasserman, but I'm not 100% on that.
I think he's
X-Men.
also the composer.
Okay. So
That's what I was thinking.
that is the background. Now we're going to get into some basic concepts and the cast. First of all, let's talk about Lyoko after I have a drink of this delicious Mountain Dew Code Red, brought to you by PepsiCo, sponsored, not sponsored. Could be a sponsor. Please sponsor me. Boingo, what's your question?
What are the tasting notes?
Cherry, fizzy, fucking gamer, bro. Now, the world of Lyoko. Lyoko is a virtual world within a supercomputer that our main characters have access to. It was created by a man named Franz Hopper. He's not important early on, but we will get into him in the later seasons. And it is a world that consists of 4 different sectors. There's the forest, there is the desert, there's the ice sector, there's the mountain sector. They are basically a series of pathways and plateaus and landings that are all interconnected, and you can traverse across them to get to these things called towers. Towers are basically large cylindrical objects that have wires going into them, and there's some smoke floating out of them. And the smoke will change colors based on certain things that I'll get into in a minute. The main thing you need to know about towers is that they are a key mechanic in how Lyoko works and how it affects the real world, because it does do that. The one other element you need to know about right now is the digital sea. The digital sea is what is underneath all the platforms and walkways on Lyoko. If you fall off of those and into the digital sea, you are virtualized forever. You become part of the code of Lyoko itself, and you cannot get back to the real world. Because yes, this is about humans going into the virtual world. It is Tron. An actual inspiration for the show was Tron, among a few other things that I will list off as soon as I bring it up. Boingo Rider.
Is this the metaverse?
Demerit. Snowcone 83.
Smell burning.
Did you leave the stove on?
The stove and the oven are both off. Do you want me to go check?
Go check. I'm not going to die until I finish this.
Then never finish it and become immortal.
It's a smart man right there. Smart man right there. Okay, so the inspirations for Code Lyoko were Tron, The Matrix, Men in Black, and Serial Experiments Lane. These are all cited by the original creators. You can look it up in interviews.
It was the burnt bits in the pan that are still hot and just putting off stuff. The stovetop is off in the oven.
Okay, sit down before I give you your third demerit. Or your second demerit, because we undemerited the original. Alright. So I've gone over inspirations, Lyoko, and how it works. Now, the supercomputer that Lyoko is housed within is in an old abandoned factory, and the kids live at a boarding school called the Caddick Academy. Now, these two places are actually based off of real-world locations. One of the most interesting things about the show to me when I was a kid was that the school and the factory that most of the show take place at are real-world locations you can actually go to, and they look like the show. I'm going to put some pictures up here in post. Now, the factory, it has actually since been demolished. I think they actually destroyed it the same year the show ended. It was an old Renette factory, and it had basically been... Go ahead.
Cars?
Yes.
Renault.
Okay.
That's how you pronounce it, Renault.
I don't know that brand very well, and
they don't sell in America.
I just heard it pronounced out loud as Renette, so whoever said that to me, fuck you. Did you have something, Snowcone?
No, I was just saying yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't make cars to sell in America. It's pretty much just a Euro and Asian brand.
Alright. I meant to double check the name of the school because I always fucking forget it. The real world school.
Cat Icarus Academy?
No. But I will put it on screen here. I'll fact check myself in post because the school does still exist. You can go and bum around the school and be like, man, I'm where the Lyoko Warriors hung out. There were new pictures of it posted on the subreddit as recently as last week. Snowcone.
Is it an active school? Because perhaps don't show up unannounced.
It's an active school, but they are sort of kind of aware of the show and its popularity and its influence, so like they're semi okay with people coming to take pictures as long as you like either come on an off day or just don't fuck with the students or the staff. But like maybe plan ahead, maybe call them, maybe work it out, maybe be a decent fucking human being.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It does, but it's worth it. So now that I've established basic concepts and the world, let's get into some characters.
I was an hour and a half into mine before I could.
You're covering an entire comic universe. I'm doing a 4-season television show.
No, I'm just laughing at myself.
Okay. So our main cast are the Lyoko Warriors. Now, interesting fun fact: this was not what they were originally called. They just called themselves the Gang all throughout the first season. Obvious joke. Let's split up, gang. Boingo.
See, I, as a fan, like, if I were part of the fandom, I wouldn't call them that. I would just call them Garage Kids, because that's a fun little clever thing, and it's also a reference to the past.
I'm not sure. I think I heard this somewhere. Garage Kids didn't actually become public information until like towards the end of the show.
Okay. But it's just more of like, as a fan name for them, it's cute.
Yeah, that would be good. But on forums during the third season, people came up with the term Lyoko Warriors, and as like a fun, hey, we're hip, we see you watching our show and we appreciate it, they had the characters start referring to themselves as Lyoko Warriors from season 2 onwards. Now, getting into who the Lyoko Warriors are. First up, we have Jeremy Belpois. He is 13. He is a student at the Caddick Academy, as I mentioned earlier. Basically, what you need to know about him is he is the brains of the operation. He operates the supercomputer 90% of the time. He is wicked smart for his age, so much so that there's an episode where he has to like purposefully fail a test to get into a school for gifted kids, lest his parents send him to it, and thusly away from his friends and away from the fight against XANA. He is also a bit of a control freak. I think it wouldn't be going too far to assume that he's maybe got some kind of mental speciality to him, OCD, ADHD, whatever you want to attach. I think he could fit into a couple different ones because he's very obsessive about stopping XANA. He's very protective of Aelita, who we'll get into in a minute, and he gets very angry whenever the others try to deviate from the mission too hard or say like, hey, you should take a day off instead of working on this important thing for what we're doing. Because he more than anyone sees what is going on in the show as life or death, fate of the world at stake kind of thing. Now we get into Aelita. Now, Aelita is arguably the main character of the show. There's a lot about her that gets revealed over the course of the show, and I don't want to spoil that until we get into the main story. So, what you need to know going into season 1, is that she lives on Lyoko. She can sense pulsations that run throughout Lyoko and lead to towers whenever they are activated by somebody, and that's another important mechanic of the world that we'll talk about when we get into XANA. And she has the power on Lyoko to create new chunks of mass. She can like auto-generate new pathways and things to block attacks and stuff like that. Now we get into Odd Della Robbia. When the show starts, Odd is the newest student at the Caddick Academy, and he is a fucker. He is a little shit, and he likes to stir shit up. He likes to play pranks. He likes to do goofy bullshit. He's basically the Michelangelo of the group. He's also the target of much ire when it comes to people entering into the series because he can be annoying, and his voice actor sounds way older than the character should be. Most of the main characters are 13, and I'll admit the voice actor does sound way older than 13, but my argument against that has always been, when I watched it as a kid, and kids were the target audience for the show, I just went, well, older people usually sound different than I sound, so that's fine. And when I grew up and went back and rewatched it, I just went, well, that's just a quirk of the show, whatever. Stuff like that doesn't generally bother me. Neither does the fact that Jeremy's voice like sounds different every season. It's not different voice actors, it's just the voice actor trying different things. Now we get into Odd's roommate, Ulrich Stern. Forgive me if I pronounce it as Ulrich a few times, because that's how I always pronounced it as a kid, and I sometimes just default to that, because I didn't actually see any of these names spelled out for a long ass time. I just watched the show. I didn't do much reading as a kid. I'm gonna admit I wasn't very literate. But Ulrich is probably the most average of the main characters, and I say that in like the mid 2000s teenager average. Like he's kind of got the swoopty swoop emo haircut, but not too bad. He's moody a lot of the time. There are times where he will just straight up sulk and not talk to anybody and just give looks. You could argue that he's a bit of a loner, but I don't really see it that way. And he's also just got like the most normal white person build of anyone. Actually, Odd is routinely made fun of throughout the show for being scrawny, despite the fact that he eats like a pig. And he always rebuffs that by saying, I'm not scrawny, I'm svelte. That's like a big ongoing joke throughout the series. Then we have Yumi Ishiyama. Yumi is the only character who does not live at Caddick Academy. Yumi is a day student. Her family are Japanese nationals who live in France because her father has worked there. And so she just goes to school. She's also one grade higher than everybody else. She's actually 14. All the other characters I mentioned so far are 13. And that's something I want you to keep in mind as we move throughout this, because people love to go like, oh wow, it's fucking hilarious that the Power Rangers are basically child soldiers. Wouldn't they be traumatized years later? The Power Rangers are like fucking 16, 17, 18 in the original series. This is a bunch of 13 and 14-year-olds. These are like basically children fighting a war against what I see as an artificial intelligence. Again, we'll talk about that when we get to XANA, but like, this shit is a little more fucked than that, and I feel like people should be more concerned about that when they talk about this series. Lastly, there is William Dunbar. I don't want to talk too much about him yet because he's kind of the Sixth Ranger. He doesn't really come into the show until the third season, and he doesn't become a main character or he doesn't become a member of the Lyoko Warriors until the end of season 3, and that whole situation is a big spoiler fest. So we'll get into that when we get into that. There are some characters at the school who are not main characters, not Lyoko Warriors. First and foremost is Sissy. She's a bitch. She is basically the mean girl, queen, bully of the school. But she has a big soft spot for Ulrich. She thinks he's fucking hot and sexy and wants to jump his junk. He has no interest in her. He actually has a crush on Yumi that most of the show he spends hemming and hawing about whether he should actually try and ask her out. And she very clearly can see that he has a crush on her, and she's just waiting for him to make a move, because she doesn't want to emasculate him, I guess. I don't know. It was never really made clear throughout the show. But their will they, won't they is like a huge subplot all throughout the series. And it can get annoying at times. Then there is Jimbo Morales. Jim Morales is the best fucking character in the show. He is the gym teacher at the school. He's a super Chad. He has a insanely complicated, maybe true, maybe not true backstory that he'd rather not talk about. It's another ongoing joke throughout the show is he'll bring up something he did as a previous job, and somebody will say, I don't know, I didn't know you did that, and he'll say, well, yeah, but I just rather not talk about it. And also, both his animation models have a white and red strapped sweatband, so that's why I'm wearing that. It's a little tribute to him, because Jim is the fucking best. He really cares about the kids and physical fitness. However, he looks like a fat tub of lard and is often played off as a bit of a dumbass, even though he's clearly not. And he also spends most of the first season being very suspicious of the Lyoko Warriors and trying to figure out why the heck they keep sneaking off and running out of class and stuff like that. He's kind of the Bulk and Skull, but not really. I think he's better than Bulk and Skull, and I like Bulk and Skull. Now we have Millie and Tamia. They are basically the duo that runs the school newspaper. They don't have a huge impact on the main plot, but they are going to show up a couple times, so I thought I'd talk about them. They're actually 12 years old. They are the youngest students at the academy, and they are routinely bullied for being the youngest because they're not teenagers, they're little kids. Oh, I bet you still play with dolls. Oh, you little girl, get out of here. This is big kid stuff. Shit like that. It's not cool. Then we have Herb and Nicholas. They are basically Sissy's shock troopers. They are her little dickheads who follow her around and do anything she says because they think she's beautiful. Herb especially has a crush on Sissy. He's a bit of a brainiac. He's kind of an academic rival to Jeremy. And Nicholas is just a dumbass who's friends with her. I don't know what the fuck is up with him. Also, since we're back on Sissy, I should mention she is the principal's daughter. Her full name is Elizabeth Delmas, and Mr. Delmas is the principal. He also only shows up sparingly throughout the show, but just watching him, it's very clear where Sissy gets it from, because he does not understand how to raise a child. He clearly either got divorced from or lost his wife when Sissy was very young, and he just spoils the shit out of her. He just gives her money and bullshit she wants so that she won't be upset, and he lets her have free reign throughout the student body, basically. The only thing he doesn't let her do is become student council president. There's a whole episode about who's going to be student council president, and apparently the principal's daughter can't run. It's in the school charter or something. Hiroki is the last sort of non-Lyoko warrior character we need to talk about. Hiroki is Yumi's little brother. He starts attending Kanik in the final season. He becomes a bit more of a character there, but he popped in and out all throughout the show, basically to be Ulrich's biggest cheerleader. He fucking loves the idea of Ulrich dating Yumi. He is a massive Yumi shipper, or whatever the ship name is. I'm sure there is one. I didn't look it up for this lecture. I probably knew it at some point. I need to drink. So that establishes kind of our good guys and neutral parties. Now we get into sort of the villainous forces. XANA. XANA is a program within the supercomputer that sort of went rogue. We don't know exactly what kind of program it is. We don't know why it went rogue. It's just fucking evil, and it wants to get out of the supercomputer and, of course, take over the world. It's also an acronym. It's always spelled as an acronym. Nobody knows what the fuck it stands for, though. Literally, in an interview once, Tiana Palumbo was asked what XANA is supposed to stand for, and she just went, I don't know. By the time I got on to staff, they had already decided on that name for the big bad, and we all just kind of went with it. However, in Garage Kids, Lyoko is not called Lyoko, it's called Xanadu, so it might have something to do with that. I should also mention this eye symbol right here is the sign of XANA. It's sort of like his Decepticon symbol. Whenever somebody works for him in any way, they have that symbol on them somewhere. He has a bunch of different monsters. I'm only going to go through the ones that appear in the first season right now. I'll talk about the others as they're introduced. But his initial sort of stormtroopers are the Cankerlots. Cankerlots are basically these little, like, almost cat-sized creatures that kind of look like bent-back thumbs with little spider legs on the bottom. They crawl around in, like, hordes of 5 to 10 and shoot lasers. Then we have the Hornets. Hornets look kind of like how you'd imagine them, but they have these huge, sharp beaks on the front of them. They can fire lasers from their assholes, and they have 6 wings instead of just 2. Then we have Blocks. Blocks are exactly what you think they are. They are big blocks that spin around, and depending on what side is facing you, they can fire different kind of attacks. They have a regular laser blast, they have a super laser blast, they have like these flame circles, they have a freeze ray. They're kind of cool. They might be my favorite monster. Actually, you know what? My favorite monster we haven't gotten to. Crabs, definitely Cody's favorite monster. To me, they don't look a whole lot like crabs. Like, they are the right sort of shade of red, but they honestly look a little more like spiders. They are like a crab's inner body shell kind of thing, suspended on 4 massive spider legs, and they can fire lasers. Go ahead, Cody.
I always thought it was weird. For a second, I was like, crabs are the only ones I do remember, which could be biased or not. But then I remembered what the hornets looked like, because I remember the scene out of nowhere. It has been a while since I've seen it, but I remember the blocks, I remember the crabs. I also remember the crabs only having 3 legs.
No, they got 4.
Interesting.
I also just remembered, so I'm glad you stopped this. Crabs can sort of open up this hatch on the bottom of them to sort of shoot out. It never works on anyone, so I don't know what exactly it does, but it kind of looks like a tractor beam. It looks like they're going to suck you up and eat you. Then we have what are definitely my favorite monsters, because this is the only monster I had the toy of as a kid. The Mega Tanks. Mega Tanks are like huge ball bearings that roll around, and then they open up, and they fire this straight wall of laser energy at you. They are also very quick at sealing back up after they fire, so they're kind of the most difficult monster to handle in the early seasons. You basically think like more of a mutant-y kind of organic looking version of the Droidicas from Star Wars. Then there are the Spectres. Spectres are sort of XANA's main way of attacking Earth. They are ghosts that travel through power lines and possess people so they can act as instruments of XANA as well. XANA does a bunch of different kinds of attacks in the early seasons, but once you get into the later seasons, he kind of just always goes to, all right, I'm going to possess 1 or 2 people, and I'm going to use them to try and kill the kids. Because the Spectres, if you are possessed by a Spectre, you are intangible. Basically, nothing can hurt you. You are super strong, you are super fast, and you can shoot lightning. You basically become a Sith Lord. So that is sort of the general cast and main threads going into the beginning of the show. Now, Code Lyoko is 4 seasons of television and some ancillary material / potential sequels. And after season 2 finished, there was a 2-part episode that was broadcast as sort of a prequel movie. Now, it doesn't have any major spoilers for later on, nothing that I need to talk about too heavily in terms of, like, this is going to happen later. So I have elected to start by talking about the 2-part prequel story, XANA Awakens. The show is divided into, in my mind, XANA Awakens, Season 1, which is Code Earth, Season 2, which is The Keys to Lyoko, Season 3, which is Code XANA, and Season 4, which is The Fall of XANA. And all those are based on names of actual episodes or material that exists for Code Lyoko, and I'll kind of talk about that as I go on. Does anybody have questions before we get into the proper plot? Anything that I need to clarify so far? Cody, go ahead.
So, I loved Code Lyoko as a kid.
Uh-huh.
I never knew it had toys.
We'll talk about the toys at the end, because I have a thing about the toys I want to say. Go ahead, Boingo.
Where does the word Lyoko come from?
I have no idea. I couldn't find anything about that while I was doing interviews. I think they must have just chose it because it sounded cool. What?
You said there was 4 seasons of Lyoko.
Uh-huh.
Could you call it For Lyoko?
You definitely could. That is a fantastic joke. I'm going to erase your demerit just for that. Go ahead, Snowcone.
I was going to literally suggest a watching of the series involved with what he just mentioned.
We could watch like the prequel movie later today.
Have you ever had a Code Lyoko?
I have. I didn't love it, but it wasn't terrible.
They're not for taste.
Yeah.
They're for getting XANA, dude.
Hey! Alright. So let's talk about XANA Awakens. XANA Awakens opens with Jeremy recording an intro for his video diary, which you'd think would be a framing device for the whole show, but it only really comes up in this and the final episode. But basically, in this video entry, Jeremy basically dishes out the basics of the plot and sort of how he came across things for everybody. He is our Eisen character in the actual show. He tells that he found the supercomputer one day while he was exploring the factory looking for parts to build robots with. That's sort of a hobby of Jeremy's. It comes up in a couple episodes here and there. He basically builds Robot Wars robots and does them in like school competitions and things like that. But he was looking for robot parts, and then he just saw that like the elevator in the factory works, and he's like, all right, let's see what's on the lower floors. And he goes down. The first basement floor of the factory is where the computer lab is. That's where the console for the supercomputer is. That's basically his workstation. He is the guy in the chair for this show. You go down another floor, you get to the scanner room. There are these 3 huge cylindrical tubes that have opening doors, and a person goes into them, and you can use that to scan someone and send them to Lyoko. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And then on the bottom floor is where the tower for the supercomputer is housed. The supercomputer is pretty sci-fi. It's basically not like any supercomputers that exist in the real world because it has a couple thousand circuit boards that make up its motherboard. It has insane amounts of processing power, and it's also nuclear powered. It literally runs on a uranium rod battery. And that will come into play again later, so remember that. He turns the supercomputer on just because he's like, what the fuck is this? I have to look into this. I have to see what this thing does. And as soon as he turns it on and he goes back up to the console room, a visual appears on the screen that is Aelita. However, she is not called Aelita initially because she has no memory. When he turns on the supercomputer, it's as if she's waking up for the first time as a person. Her memory starts there, and she is just we think she's just a computer program, basically. She's an artificial intelligence within Lyoko is the way she's understood in XANA Awakens and Season 1. And he thinks it's like a video game. He's like, okay, how do I give this thing commands? What is going on? And she has to stop him and go like, no, I'm a person. What is going on? Where am I? Who am I? What's going on? And initially he has the idea to name her Maya. I don't know if that's meant to be a reference to anything for him. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I just want to point out it may be a reference to the 3D program they were using because Maya is a popular 3D program.
It's entirely possible. But they basically decide to explore Lyoko a little bit, and she goes outside of the tower she's in, and she's in the forest sector, she can sort of see what's going on, but literally like 10 seconds after she steps outside, a swarm of Cankerlots show up and start shooting at her. So she goes back inside the tower, and this is where Jeremy figures out that like towers are basically save points. You go in a tower, your health regenerates, you can sort of interact and get Lyoko to do things that affect the real world. You can activate a tower. And activating towers is going to be XANA's main form of attack throughout the show. Basically, if you activate a tower, you can do stuff to manipulate stuff in the real world based on electrical fields that are there. Like, there's literally one episode where XANA activates a tower and uses the supercomputer's energy to manipulate the electrical fields in France to reverse the Earth's gravity and start sending people into space. It's fucking terrifying. But Jeremy doesn't exactly know all of that just yet. He just can see that like towers are a safe space and they do shit. He doesn't know how to activate one. He doesn't know that they can be activated yet. He'll figure that out a little later on. But that's basically his first experience with Lyoko. After that, he records the diary entry, and then we cut to the next day where Odd and Org are meeting for the first time. Odd arrives, and for some reason, the school just didn't fucking tell Org that he was getting a roommate. And he is very annoyed at the prospect, especially because Odd and him don't get along initially. Like, Ulrich's not a jackass. He's not a bit of a. He's not, like I said, he's not a loner. He's just cool and collected. And Odd is, hey, how's it going on? Ulrich Stern, I'm your new roommate. What's up, dude? Go ahead, Boingo.
Would you say they're an odd couple?
Definitely. Yeah. We also find out when Odd goes up to the room with him that Odd brought his dog to school, and the school has a strict no pets policy, and that is a thing throughout the show. Is Odd just hiding his dog and trying to keep the faculty from discovering him because he's a fucker. The dog's name is Kiwi. He's kind of the group's mascot. It's not a major character. The only other thing that Kiwi really does is Jeremy comes to Ulrich because he kind of knows him. Jeremy doesn't really have friends, but he kind of has a few people who have been nice to him. And Ulrich is one of those people, so he goes up to him and he goes, hey, I found this thing. It's fucking crazy. I need you to help me test it and see if it works. I want to see if I can actually send somebody to this virtual world because it looks like I can and I'm not sure. Let me just wake up our laptop real quick. I don't want to be caught off guard by a XANA attack. But they decide, because they don't know if it's going to be safe at all, to not put one of themselves at risk. They kidnap Kiwi and go to do this one night. And Odd catches Ulrich at the last minute getting out of the room, and he chases him, and Sissy sees them leaving, and she follows them for some fucking reason. And they all end up at the factory just after Ulrich puts Kiwi in the scanner and leaves the room. Odd and Sissy show up, and they're like, what the fuck is this place? What is going on? Oh shit, my dog's in that thing. I gotta get the door closed. What's going on? And then the door opens again for a second. Kiwi jumps out as Odd is going to pick him up, and Odd falls in the scanner. The door closes. Jeremy goes to virtualize Kiwi, and Odd is sent to Lyoko. Odd is the first Lyoko warrior to be virtualized, if we're going on the canon of the show. We'll talk about how that's fudgy later. Odd initially thinks it's a video game because, again, the writers were kind of self-aware by this point. This came after season 2. They've been reading the forums. They know about the video game comparison. So they're making a few cheeky references. So this is where XANA really first starts affecting by the real world. The tower has been activated the whole time, but as Ulrich is leaving the computer lab to go to the scanner room and kind of tell Sissy everything's okay and that he's going to go in after Odd now that they know it's safe, a cable near the computer just starts wriggling, and we don't know why just yet. But Ulrich goes to Lyoko, he is virtualized, and basically the way their Lyoko designs work is they are based on, and this is what Jeremy explains in the show, they're based on their subconscious desires. So Odd looks like a fucking furry cat, man. He has a literal tail, and he has a picture of his dog on his shirt. And Ulrich looks like a samurai minus the armor. Like, he kind of looks like the Power Rangers samurai training uniforms, basically. Odd's weapon is laser arrows. They all have weapons they can use to defend themselves against the monsters, except Aelita initially. Odd has laser arrows that he can fire from his wrist. Ulrich has a saber that basically just looks like a katana, but does kind of function like a lightsaber. Odd's power is that he has future flash, which basically allows him to see a couple seconds into a possible future. And Ulrich has super sprint, which is just another word for super speed. He can run like the Flash if he needs to. And he can also do a triplicate attack, which is where he temporarily generates clones of himself to attack a monster from multiple angles. Now, once they're on Lyoko, they meet up with Aelita, who is basically just like, hey, how are you? And then the Kangarots show up, and they have to fight them for a minute. While this is happening in the real world, Sissy comes into the computer lab, and the cable starts moving with purpose. and goes to try and choke her and Jeremy, but they're able to cut it at the last second and it stops. And they don't understand what's going on, and while that's happening, the Kenkrolots are basically wiping the floor with Audenor because they've never done this before, they don't know how to fight in this world, and they get to virtualize right before seeing that there is an activated tower. And the way they can tell it's an activated tower is there's red smoke coming out of it. That's why I wrote everything related to XANA in red, because red is basically XANA's color. Towers normally have like a white smoke. That's how you know it's a neutral tower. And there are also way towers. Way towers do not have a unique kind of smoke, but you can use them to get to different sectors. There's basically a way tower at each polar end of each sector, and they will, if you jump off of the platform within the tower, you will fall through into the next sector. And they also discover this while they're on Lyoko for the first time, because Jeremy is basically like, hey, the whole reason Jeremy decides to do the mission to Lyoko is he wants to see if he can get Aelita out of there, because she's a fucking person and he doesn't want to just leave her alone, but he doesn't want to turn things over to the authorities because he knows they're just going to dismantle the supercomputer and try to figure out what the fuck it is. They're not going to care about this other person that's trapped in there because they're just a computer program to the layman. So he's like, try and get Aelita into one of those towers, see if it does anything. They find a way tower, they fall through it into the ice sector, and that's where they see the activated tower. They get devirtualized shortly after that, and being devirtualized is basically just you exhaust your life points. There are life points in this, just like in a video game. And if you lose all your life points, you sort of dissolve and then just get spat back out the scanner. Unless you're Aelita, because she is of Lyoko, if she gets devirtualized, she's fucking dead. For her, it is you die in a game, you die in real life. So that is basically what they discover in part 1. Part 2 picks up the next day with Jeremy basically being like, hey, maybe we should try that red tower, because that red tower was different than all the other ones. Maybe that's the one that can get Aelita onto Earth. Maybe it has more power or something like that. And they're like, okay, cool, but let's do it later tonight, because Auric has a martial arts class, and Odd needs to make sure his dog gets walked this time and not thrown onto a virtual world. So Auric goes to his martial arts class, and this is where we meet Yumi and Jim. Yumi is the only other student in the martial arts club at martial arts class. They kind of use those terms interchangeably in the show. But her and Auric happen to practice the same martial art, which is Penchak Salat. I believe it is actually a Taiwanese martial art. I could be wrong about that. I'll correct myself here if I am. But they are also both evenly matched. Like, Jim basically goes like, well, since there's two of you, let's just have some sparring to see how you do. And they thoroughly trounce each other. Like, briefly Ulrich has Yumi beat, and then briefly she has him beat. And both times that happen, they pin each other down to the floor, and there's like a blush moment. It's very cute. It's very But after the class ends and Jim goes to leave, they are attacked by cables from within the wall. And Ulrich is like, oh shit, this has got to be something to do with the supercomputer. This is bad. I got to get to the factory. I got to go meet up with Jeremy. We were supposed to meet around this time anyway. And Yumi is basically like, I almost died. Fucking cables came to life. That's not normal. Bring me with you. Explain this shit. And so she goes with him to the factory. And while this is happening, Sissy is at cheerleading tryouts. She basically blows them off to go try and become a cheerleader, and that's a whole hilarious scene that happens. But once they get there, they realize, like, okay, the cables attacking is definitely fucking weird, and it's probably connected to Lyoko somehow. So let's look into it, figure out what it is. And Jeremy kind of immediately figures out that XANA's a thing. He looks into the code a little deeper and he's like, oh, there's a fucking virus on this shit, basically. Like, XANA, we never find out what kind of program XANA is. Like, the term multi-agent system is thrown around a few times. I personally think XANA's like an algorithmic AI, but it is portrayed sort of like a virus. And I'm going to swap pronouns a few times here. All throughout the show, they use he, him pronouns to refer to XANA, but I'm sure if it was made today, they would use they, them pronouns. Just for obvious reasons. But they're like, okay, if this XANA thing is going to cause trouble, we got to shut down the supercomputer as soon as possible, but we don't want to lose Aelita. So we have to materialize her as quickly as possible. Let's get her to that red tower. So they go to Lyoko, they do that, and while this is happening, the Cables attack Sissy. She panics, she freaks the fuck out. As soon as she calls them, she finds out that that everything they've discovered, and she goes, okay, we're in over our heads. I'm going to get my father. So she goes and gets him. He gets the authorities, and they will later come to the factory at the end of the episode. But while that is happening, they get to the tower. Aelita goes inside, and thinking that she's going to virtualize herself, she puts her handprints on the sort of data pad that is at the top platform, because there's a platform at the top of the towers as well as at the entrance that she has to kind of glide gracefully up to. That's another thing people kind of make fun of when it comes to this show, is they use the same animation for Aelita going into the towers and deactivating them all throughout the first couple seasons. And it's very slow, it's very graceful, it's meant to show how she's connected to Lyoko. But people are like, oh, she's taking her sweet time while these people are fighting for their lives. What a bitch. And it's like, you're not paying attention, bro. Pay more attention. Be media literate. You will learn things. But Aelita goes and puts her handprint in there, and on the screen comes her name. And remember, up till this point, they were referring to her as Maya. She sees Aelita, and she realizes, she remembers that's her name. So later she will basically be like, yo, Jeremy, turns out my name's Aelita. Please call me that from now on. And it's never an issue. But the screen then says Code Lyoko, i.e. name of the show. Code Lyoko is basically what deactivates the towers. It's like a manual override. And that will kind of become the plot of the shows from here on out, is they realize there's an activated tower, it's doing something funky on Earth. One or two of the Lyoko warriors hang back to make sure people stay safe from the attack, while the others go to the factory, get virtualized, help Aelita get to the tower and deactivate it. That's basically how a lot of the episodes of season 1 go. But as soon as she deactivates the power, or the tower, excuse me, I misspoke, the Delmaxes show up at the factory, and Jeremy's like, oh shit, what am I going to do? And that's when he finds the Return to the Past program. Because yes, this show features time travel. The Return to the Past is basically an emergency program that will send you 24 hours back in time. And by you, I mean anybody who has been scanned into the supercomputer. It basically allows you to Groundhog Day yourself. And this will be a mechanic throughout a lot of the early part of the show, is the attacks will do something that could potentially expose the secrets of the factory, and so Jeremy executes the Return to the Past. But the first time he does it, it doesn't work on him because he hasn't been scanned into Lyoko. So, like, they go back 24 hours to a point where they all just happen to be in the same room, even though they didn't know each other very well yet. And, I should have mentioned, Yumi joins them on this second trip to Lyoko. She gets scanned in. So Yumi, Odd, and Ulrich are all like, oh shit, we're back 24 hours. What happened? Jeremy, what did you do? And he's like, do I fucking know you? And they have to then explain the last 24 hours to him. And that's when they all agree that they are going to be the Lyoko warriors from now on, that they are going to work to get Aelita to Earth so they can shut down the supercomputer and be rid of XANA. Because, again, Aelita, while she is a computer program, she's a fucking person. she is innocent in all of this. They want to get her out of there and save her, and Jeremy really believes there is a way to do that. So that's when we get to Code Earth, and a lot of the plot of the first season is Jeremy trying to develop Code Earth, looking for a program that will allow him to materialize Aelita. He is constantly working on that in the background throughout the season. You basically think of Code Earth as the bad wolf of Code Lyoko. And I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of the first season is just filler. Because, go ahead, boy.
How does Aelita relate to the James Cameron produced movie, Aelita Battle Angel?
I think the original manga might have been an inspiration in some way. It's never cited by the creators, but it's entirely possible. It is spelled the same way. It might have just been that they picked that name for her because they saw it somewhere and they thought it sounded cool.
See, I was just trying to make a dipshit.
I know you were, but like that is something I thought about before too, so I figured it was worth answering seriously. Also, it's getting kind of hot in here, so I'm going to take the blazer off.
Woo, take it off!
And if one of you gentlemen would like to crack the window, that would be appreciated.
We'll crack something.
Yeah, crack it good. So, basically, in Season 1, XANA is constantly attacking. Like, it's almost every day that XANA attacks and comes up with a new scheme. XANA is fairly original all throughout the first season, doing various different kinds of attacks. I could list them all off to you, but I'm just going to say some of the highlights. XANA uses the power to take over, to basically remote control some bulldozers and try and destroy the factory in one episode. Looks like we're having a bit more of a problem with that than I thought we would.
Okay.
Way. Okay, it should cool down. There's a moth. Ooh. How nice. Alright, so XANA begins attacking in earnest. He uses the power to to remote control some bulldozers. He figures out how to create specters. He also does probably one of the things that the show is most infamous for, because it's the plot of the first episode. XANA uses up the power grid to have a specter possess a teddy bear and grow it to kaiju size. It's actually Millie's teddy bear. And a lot of people like to make fun of the show because that's just a really wacky Power Rangers-esque visual, but like, it makes sense. It's a kid's show. You want to use something kids would be familiar with and would actually feel serious if it was taken away from them. Like, I don't see how people want to make fun of that, especially when the episode itself kind of pokes fun at the concept, because there's literally a scene where Ulrich is in this giant auditorium full of people and he's like, you guys have to get the fuck out of here, a giant teddy bear is about to come and kill you, and they just laugh at him until the teddy bear pulls the fucking roof off. But this is also where we get introduced to the will they won't they plot with Ulrich and Yumi. There's basically always just a little hint that that one or both of them want to get with the other one, all in every episode. And in most episodes, Sissy does something to try and come on to Ulrich, and it annoys the fuck out of him. We can basically use that to gloss over most of the episodes in Season 1, because like I said, it's mostly filler. The most important thing to the overall plot is the Season 1 finale, which is actually called Code Earth. Well, it's Code Earth, and then Part 2 is called False Start. But in Code Earth, Jeremy finally figures out how to materialize Aelita, or he comes up with a program that he's pretty sure he's going to work. He runs multiple tests, and it all comes back positive, and they basically come up with a plan to bring her to Earth and integrate her into society. What's up, Boingo?
I don't know if this would be considered a plot hole, but considering the fact that XANA is in the supercomputer, how can Jeremy trust any information he gets from the supercomputer that XANA could easily manipulate?
He's not running this on the supercomputer. He's testing it with his own equipment. He has a laptop and a souped-up looking desktop. Like, he has the best consumer technology money can buy for the year 2003. Go ahead, Snowcone.
Snungo. How does
That's your
he
ship now.
safely transmit the data between the supercomputer and the home computers?
I think he uses like a broadband connection. They never explain it in the show. But the way it works this episode, after he's done testing the materialization program on his desktop, he puts it on a CD-ROM. This is 2003. And he tells the others, and they're basically like, okay, here's how we're going to integrate Aelita into human society. We're going to forge records to get her enrolled in the school, and we're going to, and at least for now, our explanation is going to be that she is Yumi's pen pal, and she's going to go stay at Yumi's place, and they okayed this with her parents and everything. They don't really have a plan beyond that, though. And
Sounds like some dumb kids.
fucking kids, man. What can I say? But they're getting this all set up. Jeremy like uses the supercomputer to actually make good forgeries of records and stuff like that. So that part, at least, they're able to cover. Go ahead, Snoka.
Good forgeries as opposed to bad forgeries?
I mean, there's good forgeries that people would actually buy, and then there's shitty looking forgeries that you can look at that and go like, yeah, you're obviously not 18. This was made with Crayola model magic. So they come up with a plan of like, okay, later tonight we're going to materialize Aelita, we'll shut down the supercomputer, and this will all be over. Now, while this is happening, as I said, all throughout the first season, Jim's been getting more and more suspicious of these kids, because while they use the Return to the Past almost every episode to erase things, it's implied that there's adventures happening between episodes that we're not seeing. And Jim is getting more and more suspicious that they keep running out of class in the middle of class to go to the infirmary, that they have absences that go unexplained, that the kids generally try to keep to themselves. They're a very insular group. And he's like, what the fuck is going on with these kids? What are they doing? They're up to something. I hope it's no good.
Any legit teacher would look at that and go like, they're doing drugs.
They never outright say that, but I would not be surprised if that's what he suspected. Also, demerit for talking without raising your hand.
But you responded in a way that made an interesting conversation.
Fair enough. But still demerit. But he's basically watching them extra close at the start of this episode, and he threatens Jeremy at one point early in the episode where he's like, look, one more absence, and I'm going to get you suspended or something like that. I'm going to talk to the principal about this. This is serious. Quit fucking around. You're gonna find out. So, when Jeremy and the others go to Lyoko to virtualize Aelita, like a fucking dumbass, he just forgets the CD-ROM. He leaves it in his room. So he basically has to go like, all right, everybody, just stay there, guard the tower, keep Aelita safe. I'm going to run back to my room and get the CD-ROM. I won't be more than 20 minutes. So he goes to do that, and while he's doing that, everybody's supposed to be in the lunch building at dinner. And Jim sees him run into the dormitories. And Jim is like, what the fuck is this kid doing? So he follows him, and as Jeremy's coming out of his room, he's like, Jeremy, what are you doing? And Jeremy just books it. So Jim starts chasing him, and because Jeremy is running and not really looking where he's going, he trips, falls down the stairs out of the dormitory, and sprains his ankle. And he gets taken to the school nurse, and because of this, the principal actually gets mad at Jim, and basically goes like, look, you've been annoying everybody, terrorizing the students with your crazy theories all school year, and I'm not going to stand it anymore. You got a student injured. We're going to get sued because of you. I have to let you go. And this devastates Jim. To him, his job is basically his life, and he feels like he's been a stupid asshole and that he's failed these kids. So he just kind of accepts it, and then he goes in to apologize to Jeremy, and Jeremy's like freaking the fuck out because he can't go anywhere. The school nurse is telling him you're going to have to stay in the infirmary the next few nights until you're good to put weight on your leg again. You can't even go to the bathroom. I'm going to have to get you a basin if you need to piss. And he's like, if I don't fucking leave and go get the others, they're going to be stuck on Lyoko until like either they get devirtualized or the computer gets shut down or something like that, or I come. So when Jim comes in and comes to apologize to him and basically goes like, hey, look, I've been an asshole. You guys probably weren't even up to anything. I was just worried about you. I'm really sorry. I'm going to miss you guys. Please don't hate me. Jeremy just goes like, all right, fuck it. You were right. We were up to something. And I need your help. So after he explains everything to Jim and then promises, hey, as soon as we materialize Aelita and shut down the supercomputer, we'll tell Mr. Delmas and the authorities everything. We'll get you your job back. It's going to be cool. Jim gives him a piggyback ride to the factory. And they run the materialization program, and it fucking works. Aelita comes out of one of the scanners as a real human person. Interestingly enough, though, she's not wearing the outfit she wears on Lyoko, and she's not nude either. She has, like, clothes that we've never seen her in before, but that will be important later. Like, things I've said about Aelita, you're going to want to remember for later parts of the story, especially if you don't know it already, Christian. We'll get to it. I
think I fucking know shit.
I'm curious.
I know Marvel. That's what I know.
I'm curious as to how much Snowcone remembers at this point. I'm not going to give you a demerit for talking without raising your hand because we just talked about like one of Jim's best moments, so I'm on a bit of a high here. But after they materialize, go ahead, Snowcone.
You talk to him first. I think that cancels that out.
That's good reasoning too. Way to go. Using your critical thinking skills that this show is supposed to develop for people, as it did for me. So, they take a couple days. They kind of give Aelita time to get used to life, living with the Ishiyamas and going to school during the day. And then they go to the factory after class one day to shut down the supercomputer. And funnily enough, like, because Jim lived at the school, he moves into the factory for like the intervening time. He has like a little tent set up next to the elevator and everything. It's really funny. But they go down to have like a bit of a farewell ceremony to shut down the supercomputer. And Jeremy flips the switch and Aelita faints. And they're all like, what the fuck? What happened? Turn it back on. And he does it and she's fine. What the hell's going on here? They run Aelita through one of the scanners, and they find XANA inserted a virus into her while she was being materialized. She's now connected to the supercomputer and XANA. If they shut it off, she basically becomes a corpse. So, they're like, what the hell are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? Jeremy basically was, I'm going to have to come up with an antivirus. Jim, do you mind living at the factory for at least a few more weeks? And he's like, it's not what I prefer, but okay. And then the next day at school, they're attacked by cankerlots. Because since Jeremy was able to do it, since he put that program in the supercomputer, now XANA knows how to materialize monsters. So he sends cankerlots to the school. And they have to go to Lyoko to deactivate the tower. Because they didn't know the tower was deactivated because Aelita wasn't on Lyoko to feel the pulsations and then call Jeremy. So, they have to fight their way out of the school through the forest that separates the factory and the school. And then into the factory to go and deactivate the tower and stop the cankerlots. And they're also like, we're going to have to run a return to the past. Because how the fuck are we going to explain these crazy monsters attacking and hurting people? Nobody dies. That's very important. It's a bit of a mechanic, and it explains why the return to the past is okay and why they don't just ignore the attacks to go to Lyoko. They have to protect the people on Earth from XANA's attacks, because if somebody dies, they won't come back to life after a return to the past. That's like the big stakes thing. That's why time travel is okay in the show, because there is still stakes. People can't die, or the time travel's not going to fix it. What's up, Boingo?
I watched this show as a kid as well. I always thought the time travel thing was to the moment before the tower got activated for the evil shit.
It might have been, but the way it's played in most of the episodes, it feels like it's supposed to be 24 hours. They never outright say how long it sends you back. It's just
Because I always
it's the start of the episode, so I've always interpreted that as 24 hours. It may just be a difference in interpretation.
Because it always felt to me it's just like, all right, we're going back to before everything went to shit.
Yeah. Also, you get a demerit for fucking lying to me. You said you weren't familiar with this show.
I watched first season. That's it.
You only watched the first season? Are you sure?
I remember one episode where Alita was 2D, and that's it.
Okay. I don't know if I made that. I assume anybody watching this knows that, like, the real world is portrayed with 2D animation. Lyoko is portrayed with 3D animation.
Yeah.
But they go to deactivate the tower, and this is where Jim has probably his biggest Chad moment of the entire show, because he just is killing Kankerlots left and right at the factory. He has a piece of steel rebar and a fucking nail gun, and he's just holding them off like he's in a fucking zombie apocalypse movie. And as soon as Odd, Aelita, and Jeremy get to the factory, they're like, Yumi and Orc need help at school, go save them. And he comes in like the cavalry and allows them to go to Lyoko and help. It's probably the moment that, like, made me fall in love with this man, basically, because he puts his life on the line and almost fucking dies fighting the Kankerlots. He is seconds away from dying when they run the Return to the Past this time, and because they run the Return to the Past, Jim doesn't remember anything. They go back to before they originally materialized Aelita, so I guess it's not 24 hours. Actually, I hadn't thought of that before. Maybe it is when towers are activated, but, like, how does that explain? I guess the mechanic doesn't make fucking sense after all. How about that, boys? I just realized that while doing this lecture. That's a big fucking plot hole. What the hell?
If it's with the towers activating, I would imagine XANA activating a tower when Aelita gets out of there before Aelita, because he could probably see the code happening, going, "Oh, they're doing fucking shit. Hold on, let me fucking prep some things and then fuck with them."
Let me Control-C, Control-V this shit.
Yeah, and so activated a tower and go like, all right, what are they doing? Oh, sweet, that's what they're doing? Fucking here's some shit.
It might have been. But yeah, they go back to before Jeremy told Jim the truth, and he doesn't remember anything. But there is a cute moment at the end of the finale where they're basically like, hey, thanks for the help, Jimbo. And that's where the name Jimbo comes from. He spends the entire second part of the finale going, they're like, hey, thanks, Mr. Morales, or hey, thanks, Jim. And he goes, my friends call me Jimbo. So that's where that comes from. And they call him Jimbo after the Return to the Past, and he looks at them like, how the fuck do you know I tell people to call me that? But that is Season 1, Code Earth. Now we are getting into the keys to Lyoko. This is where I fell in love with this show. This was the shit that was airing when I got into it. There's a few minor changes as where the animation starts getting actually bearable as a modern viewer, because the animation isn't god-awful in Season 1, but it's just, like, noticeably not up to par. In Season 2, things start getting a lot smoother. They start getting a lot better at doing more complicated shots. They also changed the opening visuals. It was just kind of like a general, like, TV intro kind of intro. That's the correct word to use for that. In Season 1, but then in Season 2, they change it to be like this really cool visual of the sign of XANA floating through a like electrical cable, and in the sign of XANA, they're playing like footage from the show. Like when I think of this show, the theme and those visuals are what comes to mind first. It's always been that way for me ever since I was a kid. This is also where we get a lot more plot. Season 2 is arguably the most dense season of the show. A lot of shit happens here, and it's what we would refer to today as the J.J. Abrams mystery box. But unlike most of those, this actually has a satisfying conclusion. Season 2's finale still gives me chills to this day. And we'll talk about that when we get to it. But basically, when Season 2 opens, it is like a week or two later, and Aelita has been kind of going back and forth between Earth and Lyoko. She is still keeping track of XANA, she's watching the pulsations, But whenever the Lyoko Warriors come to the factory, she comes to Earth and hangs out with them. But at the start of the season, they basically tell her, like, hey, we've forged new documents for you. You're gonna come live at the academy. Your cover story is that you are Odd's cousin from Canada and that you are an orphan. And that his parents just enrolled you because they felt bad for you. And you don't have to go to Lyoko to watch Rosanna's pulsations anymore because Jeremy has made a new program called the Super Scan, which is basically just constantly running, checking Lyoko for activating towers, and it will ping him when there is one. So now it is more like an instant alert, whereas in season 1, something fucky would happen, and Jeremy would open his laptop and be like, hey, Alita, is there an activated tower? What's going on? Fucking check it out. And she is overjoyed at this. This is like a dream come true to her. Like, it is like, I no longer have to be in this place that is constant danger for me. I can come and be with my friends. This is great. Alita's a real sweetheart all throughout the show. She is the heart and soul of the group, I think. If I'm being totally honest, she was probably my first waifu before I knew what waifus were. And now I wouldn't count her as one because there's also a subtle romance going on between her and Jeremy all throughout the show that builds and builds and builds, and I do ship it. Go ahead, Boingo.
Does Odd get a romance?
Odd is a fucking ladies' man and a womanizer. He dates every girl at the school at one point except for Yumi, Aelita, and Sissy. And it gets to the point where in the later seasons, there are girls constantly going like, yeah, you were an asshole on our date. I'm not going out with you again. Like, he has a reputation of being a piece of shit boyfriend around school, partly because he's more committed to being a Lyoko warrior, but also because he's just an immature idiot kid. And also he constantly has girls on the brains. Like he'll make references to women and stuff like that while they're doing Lyoko stuff. Like, hey, we invented this new program. How about you name it Mallory? Or it's like your current girlfriend. We're not fucking doing that, you idiot. It's a whole thing. But I was gonna gloss over it until you asked, just because it's not really important to the main plot. But hey, you did, and now we've got some additional flavor text.
Well, it's just,
Yeah, it does beg the question. But
you never know. Odd and William could have gotten together.
It's true. I wouldn't have minded that. I'll be honest. They do become pals. And hey, good job bringing William up, because this is where William joins the cast. He is a new student added in at the start of this season. Each season is basically a semester. The whole show takes place over 1 year. So William comes in, and we basically learn that he's kind of a bad boy. There's a story going around school that he got kicked out of his last school for defacing public property, and Yumi gets assigned with him to do a project in their class together, and she's basically like, is that shit true? And he's like, yeah, I kind of put stickers on every surface I could that were proclaiming my love to this girl because love makes me crazy. I might be falling in love with you. You want to go out? William is basically a third wheel for Ulrich and Yumi to make that subplot more interesting initially. It is constantly will they, won't they with Yumi and Ulrich, and now in any scenes Yumi would have had alone in season 1, she's with William, and it's will they, won't they with them. It's because of this that most of the time, all throughout the show, Ulrich and William don't get along. They're kind of like the Jason and Tommy, or the Goku and Vegeta, because they do become friends by the end of the show, all of them. Or more like, we're on good terms, not like we're best pals kind of thing. So Aelita joins the cast. She has a little trouble adjusting to life on Earth, and this makes her like Sissy's new big target. Like, there's several episodes in season 1 where Sissy tries to torment Aelita, and it's basically like, hey, protect your friends, stick with your friends, stand up against bullies, kind of a message. This is also where the early sort of elements of the mystery box story come in, because Aelita starts having visions of things that seem sort of spooky, seem like they may have happened to her before. She doesn't know what exactly they are. It first happens when her, Jeremy, and everyone in their class are on a field trip class project kind of a thing out in the woods. They're supposed to be collecting like samples of local fungi, and Jeremy has to run back to his dorm room to get his laptop because he forgot it at one point, and he leaves Ailita alone in the woods. And she starts having these visions of like a wolf chasing her, and it leads her to this old abandoned house in the middle of the woods called the Hermitage. There's a sign out front that says that, and they will refer to it as the Hermitage throughout the rest of the show. There's like no road leading to it. They have no idea how you're supposed to get to it, but they find that it's like completely run down and abandoned. I'm surprised I haven't seen photos of this place on like r/abandoned places or anything like that, because it is very aesthetic if you're into that kind of stuff. But they find that there's also a passageway that goes straight to the factory. So whoever owned this place had something to do with the factory. And when Jeremy that very night goes online and looks into the place, he finds that it is currently registered as being owned by one Franz Hopper. This is where Franz Hopper enters into the story. And they don't know who he is yet. They just know he owned the Hermitage and he had some kind of connection to the factory, but they don't know what that is yet, and they also have no idea where he is. There's no sign of Franz Hopper having done anything on Earth recently. This kind of will be a thing that's just hanging in the air for a little bit. Now, the next thing that happens in the early part of the story is during a XANA attack, Jeremy announces that he has created vehicles for the Lyoko warriors so they can get around the sectors a lot faster, deactivate the towers more effectively, basically. Ulrich gets the overbike, which is like this big motorcycle uni-wheel thing. Odd gets the overboard, which is just the hoverboard from Back to the Future. And Yumi gets the overwing, which is basically a floating moped that's like more streamlined and simply designed. And Ailita just rides with whoever is whoever says, "Hey, Ailita, get on" at the start of the mission. This is also where they discover Sector 5. There is actually a fifth sector at the core of Lyoko. It is a big dome, and it's where you're actually supposed to mainly interface with the supercomputer. It is composed of a sort of entry room that leads into a puzzle room that is timed. You have to find this key and flip and press it in, and then... Ooh, that was a big burp. You hit the key, the timer stops, the door to the next room opens, and that allows you to ride an elevator that takes you out into the exterior of the actual orb superstructure, and that's where the little panel that you can interact with and manipulate the supercomputer from within more effectively. There's also tunnels of data leading out into each of the sectors that Jeremy can open up for them to get out of. Because the thing about Sector 5, you can't be virtualized directly into Sector 5, at least not right away. The way to get to Sector 5 is there is this little transport terminal that will come up and grab you when you go to the edge of a sector. Jeremy is prompted to enter a code, and there's actually a big suspenseful chunk in one episode where he's trying to figure out what the code is because Ailita is trapped in Sector 5 with no help, and he's trying to get the others there, and he grabs a book out of his backpack that he took from the Hermitage, and he realizes that the code, because it's prompting him, the prompt is Carthage, and he realizes the code is Scipio, which, damn, they have a whole thing about it. I forget what exactly Scipio is in relation to Carthage, but it's an important thing in that episode. And this is how Jeremy realizes, like, okay, Franz Hopper must have had more than just a connection to the factory. He has to have worked on the supercomputer in the past, because this book I found at his house had the information I need. And the other thing about Sector 5 is this is where we start encountering new monsters. Sector 5 is mainly populated by the creepers, which are these sort of slug-like things that have these long front arm sort of structures. They're very bony, but they lift themselves up on that and they use those to walk. They have these bodies that kind of end in like a tail uni-leg sort of situation, and they fire lasers from their mouths. On the outside of the dome, there are the mantas, which are just fucking manta rays, but they can fly and shoot lasers from their mouths and deploy mines from underneath them in the sky. The tarantulas also starts appearing in the other 4 sectors as like XANA's new go-to trooper. Tarantulas have these like skinny, almost like, I don't know why they weren't called hounds, because they have these very skinny dog-like bodies with the similar spider-like appendages to the crabs, but they have more of a spider-like bend to them. And people love to make fun of these things because they always sit down on their hind legs with like one prop way up, and then they fire lasers from their forward legs. What is up?
I'm trying to tell you to wiggle the mouse in the computer.
Oh,
Because I was about to do that.
yeah, good. I didn't ever think to do that during your life.
Also, that means it's been going for 2 hours.
Our time code is currently an hour and a half.
Really? Because it should only... The screen should only turn off at an hour. I need to check that then.
Yeah, but we're also going a little slower than I thought we would be. I thought we would be into season 3 by now. But where the fuck was I in my notes? Okay, so another thing they find within Sector 5 is the Scyphozoa. There is only one Scyphozoa. It's always written like it is the same Scyphozoa coming to get them, and they never destroy it. They can only, like, shoot it, and that'll make it go away. Because the Scyphozoa is like this huge jellyfish-looking motherfucker that will grab Aelita and start trying to drain her memory. And they don't know why it does that. They just know that for some reason, XANA is now using the Scyphozoa to target Aelita specifically and try and get something that's in her memory. And that's another element of mystery that runs throughout this season is, like, if Aelita gets her memory drained, XANA's going to do something really bad and we don't know what it is or how it's going to work, so we need to just keep her as safe as possible. Kind of like before. Throughout the whole first 2 seasons, anytime they go to Lyoko, it's like an escort mission for Aelita. Then we get into the next development in the mystery box plot for Aelita. Because Aelita has a dream one night of the wolves from her previous dream chasing a gnome through that same forest. And she doesn't know what it means. She talks to the others. They're like, it's probably nothing. You're probably just freaking out because of the latest XANA attack. Don't worry about it. But she's like, she's very insistent. She's like, this led us to the Hermitage, which led us to knowing who Franz Hopper is, which led us to knowing more about the origins of the supercomputer. If I'm having these dreams, they must mean something. So one day, she goes out to the forest and tries to find the spot where she saw the gnome being chased. She ends up at the Hermitage, and she starts having the dreams, or the visions, again, only this time she's seeing the gnome trying to hide. And it's at this point that the others find her, because there's like a brief moment where they're like, where the fuck did Aelita go? She's not anywhere on the campus. Did XANA take her? What's going on? Because that's sort of the main stock filler plot XANA does throughout Season 2, is he'll just use a Spectre to possess someone and kidnap Aelita and try and take her to the factory and virtualize her so that he can steal her memory. So they think that's happened, but they end up finding her at the Hermitage right when she's in one of the bedrooms, which looks like it might have been a girl's room, and she pulls back one of the posters and she finds a crevice in the wall where a doll of that gnome is. And they take it back to school and they're kind of examining it, And Sissy grabs it and starts trying to make fun of Aelita, like, haha, you still play with dolls, kind of a thing. And Jeremy grabs its legs and starts tug-of-warring with Sissy, going like, leave her alone, you've been fucking with her enough, this isn't funny. And they end up tearing it in two, and a key falls out. And Jeremy is able to get the key from Sissy just before she grabs for it. And then class starts, because they're in a classroom waiting for class to start when this happens. And like halfway through class, all throughout class, Jeremy is just staring at this thing. And then halfway through, he just blurts out, "It's a train station key!" And everybody looks at him, because only the Lyoko warriors know what's going on. But everybody in class just looks at him like he's fucking insane. He's like, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. And everybody laughs at him. But they take the key to the train station, and they open a locker there with it. And in it, they find a suitcase full of CD-ROMs. And on those CD-ROMs are Franz Hopper's diary. Franz Hopper had a video diary just like Jeremy. But it's all encrypted, and Jeremy can't get into it just yet. It's going to take a while to decode. So they take it back to his dorm, and he starts working on it. But XANA possesses somebody, tries to kidnap Aelita, and while he's at it, he destroys the CD-ROMs just after Jeremy finishes copying all the data onto his computer. So there's like a moment in an episode where you think, oh no, XANA just really fucked them, and then after the Return to the Past, he's like, no, it's good. I got them on my computer. We're fine. It's a more suspenseful thing in media, but like I wasn't gonna try and hold you guys in suspense for a minute over that. But at the same time, a couple things happen that affect the format of the episodes and overall plot. The first thing I want to talk about is they discover that Return to the Past isn't exactly the most viable option, because every time you do it, you make the supercomputer, and by extension, XANA, stronger. So they resolve that unless it's absolutely necessary to keep the secret of the factory, they're not going to run the Return of the Past anymore. Which I think was a conscious effort on the writer's part to not use the Return to the Past as a crutch anymore. But there's nothing about that in interviews or anything like that. It's speculation on my part. However, Ulrich immediately violates this rule when Yumi's dad loses his job and they think Yumi's going to have to move back to Japan. He uses the Return to the Past to win the lottery, and he gives them the fucking ticket. And everybody gets real pissed at him for like a week. They're like, you're temporarily out of the group. We have to figure out what we're going to do about this. For all we know, you just majorly fucked us over by making XANA more powerful. Even though you did it to try and help someone, it's still bad. You still, like, that's something I like about this show, is there's no, like, Zordon's free rules moment where they're like, all right, we're not going to do this, and we're not going to do that, and we're not going to do that, and we're going to stick to these things because those are bad. The kids just kind of are smart enough and mature enough to know, like, we shouldn't be using the supercomputer for personal gain. This is purely to stop XANA and save Aelita. That's like the whole plot of an episode. Eventually, they forgive him and let him back into the group, and Yumi's dad ends up finding another job. They give the ticket back to him, and he gives the money to charity because he's a good guy. The next thing that happens is while they're setting up for a school, while Odd and William are setting up for a school dance, they accidentally break some of the musical equipment. They take it to Jeremy and are like, hey man, can you fix this? And he's like, I'm way too fucking busy working on Lyoko shit, leave me the fuck alone. And Aelita's like, well, I know stuff about computers. I spent all my time on Lyoko just doing research and stuff like that. Why don't I give it a crack? And Jeremy's like, you don't want to help me work? And she's like, I'm literally just sitting here reading a book while you're on the computer. This is not fun for me. So she fixes like a turntable and one of the speakers, and she asks William a couple of questions like, hey, how does this work? How do you make music with this? And through doing that, she discovers a passion for DJing. That becomes like her hobby for the rest of the show. She is an amateur DJ. If you want to know if her music's good, go and watch the fucking episode, because one of the episodes, because they always play the same beat whenever she's DJing, and like I do not know enough about DJing to be able to tell if it's good or not. What was I on my notes? Okay, so then we have a what could be considered a filler episode, but I think it's kind of important. And I want to talk about it just because it's one of the ones I saw a lot as a kid. There is an episode where the supercomputer's nuclear battery starts dying. Like, it's almost out of juice, and, like, Aelita starts fainting and waking back up, and they're like, oh, fuck, what are we going to do? Where are we going to get a uranium bar? And Xana legitimately is like, yo, that will kill me too, so truce. I'm going to possess public enemy number one, criminal, murder, bank robber, rapist man, Peter Duncan, break out of prison and steal the uranium we need. And him and Jeremy put it in the supercomputer. And then, because Xana is Xana, as Peter Duncan, he starts trying to kill Jeremy, so they go to Lyoko and deactivate the tower. It is a really cool episode. I like it a lot. There is also an episode where Xana does an attack of materializing crabs and sends them in like a huge invasion force. He sends a couple to the school. He sends a couple to Yumi's house. And there's a couple guarding the factory. And this episode is important because it is a major plot beat for Yumi and Ulrich's arc. It is like the first episode where Hiroki is really impressed by Ulrich and is like, this is the guy you need to be going out with, because when Yumi's dad almost gets fucking murdered by a crab, he takes Yumi's family's ancestral samurai sword and defeats the crab in like a feat of martial arts and swordsmanship. And everybody is like, whoa, this kid is a way more skilled fighter than he should be. And they eventually do a return to the past, but Hiroki from that point on will be portrayed as like Ulrich's biggest fan. Also, I thought I'd just bring it up because Snowcone would want to know that crabs came to Earth at one point. Snowcone first.
I think they were already here.
I mean, yes, but Xana's crabs. Boingo.
Can you eat the crabs?
They never try. I don't know, because like we see there's organic looking innards to the mega tank, so I would assume the other monsters have that. But like the monsters always explode when they're defeated, so they never get the chance. Snowcone.
So if Xana has crabs, does that mean Xana fucks, or did it just some other poor circumstance?
I don't think Xana does anything physical. Xana never has a true personification. Xana always acts through various instruments like the monsters and people he possesses. He does seem to talk directly through the people he possesses on a few occasions, but Xana never has like a body. There's never like a moment where it's like, oh shit, Xana has a physical form and we can actually physically fight and kill Xana now. Boingo.
On the understanding that Xana may or may not fuck, and they are crabs, could we also consider them lice? Because ultimately crabs and lice are the same kind of animal, they just attack different areas of the body.
It's entirely possible.
That way Xana does not have to fuck in order to have them.
Fair enough.
By the way, that is a true thing. Lice and crabs are the same kind of animal.
Oh yeah, no, I trust you on that kind of shit.
In fact, every mammal has their own species of those kind of creatures.
Okay.
I mean, relativistically, I'd imagine rats and mice have the same kind of lice.
Okay. So around, did you have another question, Snowcone? Okay. So around this point is when Jeremy starts actually making progress on decoding Franz Hopper's diary, and he only gets kind of like random, sporadic entries at first. Go ahead.
Could Franz Hopper's last name be a reference to Oppenheimer?
It could be.
Because it sounds phonetically similar.
It could be. Well, actually, I don't mind saying this because it's not a huge spoiler. We'll actually find out. Actually, you know by this point because initially the end credits of the show are set to like an instrumental of the show's theme, and it's just like concept art and screen caps from Garage Kids with the credits. But from season 2 onwards, they change it to a song called Fade Away, which is by a fictional band within the show called the Subdigitals. and it is set to visuals of somebody going through a top secret file of information on a man called Waldo Schaefer, who we later find out is Franz Hopper. Franz Hopper is like a pseudonym that Waldo Schaefer used to cover his tracks, but the government has a file on him. We'll talk more about that when we get into the season 2 finale. Just know that like is a thing.
It's just been ringing in my head. It's like Hopper sounds too much like Oppenheimer. We're dealing with nuclear shit.
Yeah, I suppose that definitely is a thing. It's not a connection I ever made, but good on you for noticing it. But as Jeremy is decoding the notes, he starts finding like information on programs and various subsystems of the supercomputer that he's like, okay, maybe this could help us fight XANA more. Maybe this could lead me to an antivirus for Aelita. Let's start messing around with some of this stuff. And the first thing he does is he tries a scrapped early version of XANA's program as a way of countering XANA on Lyoko. It's called he calls it the Marabunta. He bases the modifications he makes up on it off of actual Marabunta ants from real life. And it sort of manifests as basically a Marvel Comics symbiote. It is like this sphere in the middle of the forest sector that starts emitting goo that just covers the ground, and when the monsters walk on it, they sink into it and explode. And Jeremy is like, okay, this is great. We won't have to worry about monsters ever again. At least not all the terrestrial ones. The hornets might still be a problem. But guys, can you go to Lyoko and check it out? Make sure it's working the way it's supposed to. And they do that. And the Marabunta starts targeting Aelita because it's supposed to target anything that registers as a part of XANA. And because of the virus, it registers Aelita as part of XANA. So they're like, we can't fucking use this. We have to get rid of it. Oh shit, we're trapped way away from the original sphere. So this is where the second truce with XANA happens, because monsters come up and start protecting Aelita, because XANA needs Aelita to get out to get her memory. Almost said a spoiler. Then a crab comes and like gets down as far as it can and has Odd climb on top of it, and Odd rides a crab all the way to the original sphere and shoots it with a laser arrow to destroy it. It is another one of the episodes I watched a lot as a kid. It was one of my favorites. And it will be important way later on, so I felt we needed to talk about it. My fucking Google Docs keeps like skipping back a page, and I always have to re-find my place whenever I look at my phone again.
That's why I didn't use Google Docs for my notes. I used a note-taking app.
Well, maybe I'll do that next time. So it's around this time, because they had gone away after they found the gnome doll, which I should have said. Aelita, when she finds the gnome doll, she like just instinctually goes, "This is called Mr. Puck." I don't know why I know it's called Mr. Puck, but I know it's supposed to be called Mr. Puck. So that is something that will come back later. The doll does play into more stuff later. But Aelita's visions go away for a little while until one night she has a nightmare of a wolf chasing her and Franz Hopper through the Hermitage into the passage to the factory and morphing back and forth into like a man in black. Like the fucking we come and stop the aliens, wear sunglasses and straight black suits, men in black, chasing her and morphing back between that and the wolf form. And she initially thinks this must have something to do with actual Franz Hopper and what's been going on with the factory. And they look into it, and what they find basically points to, like, no, this is a part of your virus. This is XANA trying to implant memories and scare you into going to Lyoko. We shouldn't trust these. But she still has this general sense of deja vu about the memory. She just has, or the vision. She just has a sense about them. She feels like they are memories, basically. But the next thing that happens is during a XANA attack, Jeremy finally figures out how to activate towers. This is something he's been working on in the background all throughout season 2, and like sort of towards the beginning of the final chunk of season 2, he figures out how to activate towers, and it's during an attack that involves a specter and a possessed person. So he goes, all right, for my first time activating a tower, I'm gonna generate a specter too. Odd. We're gonna see if this works to counter the attacks. We're gonna try and give you superpowers. And I love this scene because the Spectre comes out of the supercomputer, goes into Odd's eyes, and he starts convulsing and freaking out, and then just settles in place and looks straight ahead. And Jeremy is just like, Odd buddy, how you feel? And you know he thinks like he just made his friend brain dead or something like that, and he just slowly goes fully charged. And then he goes and fights the Spectre until they can deactivate the towers and activate. It's a great moment in the show. But right after that is when Franz Hopper finally makes contact with the Lyoko Warriors, and we start learning what is going on with Franz Hopper. Because they get called to the factory one night when the super scan wakes Jeremy up, and he sees XANA hasn't activated 1 tower, he's activated 14. And Jeremy is like, what the fuck? We gotta go now. Everybody get the fuck up, we're going now. And they go to the factory. Franz Hopper is just sitting there in the computer chair. And he's deactivating the towers with the keyboard. He's like, yeah, you don't actually have to go to Lyoko to deactivate the towers. I don't know why the fuck you guys were doing that. And they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, Zan's always got tricks up his sleeve. It can be kind of hard to figure out how to counter him. And I'm sorry about him. He's basically a program I made that went awry, and as soon as I realized that, I shut off the supercomputer. I hoped nobody would ever find it again. But when I realized what you kids were doing, I decided to come help you. And they're like, okay, but that doesn't explain Aelita. What the fuck is the deal with Aelita? Why did you abandon her? Because she's just a computer program. She was meant to be the guardian of Lyoko. Like, I was developing Lyoko as like a new world to send people to if like global warming and shit went bad here. So I was going to have Aelita kind of run and maintain things if all of humanity eventually ended up on Lyoko. So, sorry Aelita, but you really are just a computer program. But Jeremy, it's fucking, you're 13 and you made a computer program a real person. That's fucking impressive. Way to go. But also, you might have fucked up your friends because the virtualization programs weren't ready. They weren't supposed to be used on humans yet. They could have caused issues. We have to run scans on everybody now to make sure they're okay. So he does that, and on work look fine, but Yumi has something wrong with her brain, and they can't tell what it is. They can't tell if it's like a tumor, or if like there's some kind of defect now. And Yumi seems fine, but they just know something's wrong, and they've got to figure out how they're going to find out what exactly is wrong with her. And Jeremy feels horrible about this. Especially because Yumi wasn't even supposed to be originally involved in the group. She just kind of got into things on accident. I mean, she's been a big help. She's the oldest member of the group, and she's been like a huge thorn in XANA's side. That's actually like a whole thing within the fandom. In the first season, she does the most damage to XANA early on during countering attacks, and because of that, there was like a string of episodes that all aired on the same week where XANA directly targeted her, and that was dubbed Pick on Yumi Week by the fandom. It's a whole in-joke. So Yumi's like a fan favorite character, and this is happening, and Jeremy feels really shitty about it, and Franz Hopper is like, yeah, you might have fucked your friend's whole life up. Way to go, asshole. And Jeremy leaves all dejected while they're trying to figure things out. And when he gets to his room and he sees the burnt diary discs, he's like, wait a second. This doesn't make any sense. Why didn't he... I'm being an idiot now because I completely forgot to mention when Franz Hopper is going on his whole tirade, he's like, "Yeah, you're the one who turned on the supercomputer. You're the one who put your friends on Lyoko, and you're the one who let XANA destroy my diary." They hadn't mentioned anything about the diary up to that point, and when Jeremy sees the diary in his room, he's like, "Wait a minute. We didn't tell Franz Hopper his diary was destroyed. How did he know his diary was destroyed? How did he even know we had his diary?" Oh, shit. And he runs back to the factory. Franz Hopper is what's called a polymorphic specter. It's a new type of specter that XANA's invented. He doesn't have to possess people anymore. He can just shoot a specter out through the wall and it can turn into any person. XANA was trying to trick them to get Aelita onto Lyoko so that he could take Aelita's memory, and they figured out just in the nick of time and deactivate the tower. Now, right after that is when Franz Hopper does actually make contact. It's really funny. It is literally the very next episode where Sissy gets possessed by a specter, and they think it's XANA at first, but all she's doing is just spouting nonsense, and they realize if they record this nonsense she's spouting and they put it through the vocoder in the supercomputer, it comes out as Franz Hopper's voice saying, "Hey, I'm trapped on Lyoko. I want to make contact. I want to help you. I can help you. Meet me here. You need to go to Sector 5 to get the data to decode my diary, and that will reveal everything. Here is where you can find the data." That is like a whole episode in and of itself. It's like I think it's like the fourth or third to last episode of season 2 when that happens. Then, in the 2-part season 2 finale, Jeremy comes up with a program using the data they get from Sector 5 to decode Franz Hopper's diary basically instantaneously. They do a whole mission to do that, and he spends a night at the factory just watching all throughout the diary. And what he finds in the diary is that the polymorphic specter was basically telling half-truths. Because Franz Hopper did create Lyoko, but he didn't create it as like a safe haven. He created it as a way of using the supercomputer's power to counter a thing called Project Carthage, which was a military program he was involved with. We never find out exactly what it was, but you can basically assume like it was some kind of terrible weapon that he felt ashamed of and he was trying to stop from the outside in. And he developed XANA as a method of maintaining Lyoko. And XANA eventually went rogue. And he unintentionally made this happen by running the Return to the Past over and over again. He relived the same day for 7 years straight and made XANA super powerful and himself and XANA insane doing that. And basically he starts feeling like he's being watched at one point. It's entirely possible that he actually was, because it's something I'll talk about in a minute. But he decides that it's not safe for him anymore, and that he and his daughter are going to hide on Lyoko. And there's this brilliant, brilliant ending to part 1, where Jeremy is telling the others all this. And Aelita is like, wait, Franz Hopper had he had a daughter? And they were both on Lyoko? That's impossible. If he had a daughter, then I would have seen her. I would have known she was there. Like, Franz hid himself because he made himself like not have a body and be omnipotent and be able to be anywhere on Lyoko he needed to be. But like he wouldn't have done that with his daughter. She would have been like me. Oh shit! And Jeremy just nods and they cut to end credits. Aelita is Aelita Hopper. She is Franz Hopper's daughter.
Wasn't Franz Hopper the pseudonym?
She's Aelita Schaefer. The way Franz Hopper, we actually find out way later in the final arc that the way Franz Hopper came up with that name is Franz is his middle name. Hopper was Aelita's mother's maiden name. And basically, the last thing they find from the diary is that Franz and Aelita were supposed to hold the keys to Lyoko, hence the name of this arc, as dubbed by me. This doesn't This doesn't come anywhere except from phrases that are said in the show. I just wanted to have names here instead of like prequel, season 1, season 2, you get it. But I'm using this as shorthand for the others. So Aelita and Franz Hopper are supposed to hold the keys to Lyoko, and they go, well, that must be what XANA wanted from you. That must be why he's been trying to take your memory, so that he can get the keys to Lyoko and he can escape the supercomputer to do God knows what. And they also kind of theorize throughout this, like, okay, well, we still have to get you an antivirus. This is amazing. You are actually human. This makes things a lot easier on us. But you're still connected to the supercomputer. We need to solve this problem. So Jeremy does some research and he finds that in a hidden room in Sector 5, there's some kind of floating energy orb. And Jeremy theorizes that that orb might be Aelita's missing memories, because she still doesn't remember any of this. She still thinks her first memory is waking up when the supercomputer was turned on. Excuse me, my mouth is getting really dry all of a sudden.
No, it tends to happen when you talk for a while.
Yeah, we've been going. We're exactly at the 2 hour mark. So do that. I'll put that over there since it's empty now. So they're like, okay, well, let's go to Sector 5. Let's get her missing memories, and maybe from there we can figure out what the antivirus will be. We'll make that a top priority, so that we can get her safe, and then we can start working on a way to get Franz Hopper back. Because they still don't know where Franz Hopper is exactly. He's just somewhere in Lyoko. He doesn't have an actual body they can go find. They have to find him in the code. Lyoko looks like that. I didn't plan that. But they go to Sector 5 to get that stuff, and that mission goes horribly. Everybody gets devirtualized except for Aelita. Aelita is trapped on Lyoko. The Schizozoa shows up. It takes all her memories, and for a second you think she's fucking dead because she just drops to the ground and doesn't react to anything like a corpse. And what's worse, the orb turns out to not be anything. It was a fucking trap set by XANA to lure them there. But that's when Franz Hopper finally shows up in the texture, I guess, because he shows up on Lyoko. And he always appears in the series as just kind of a glowing orb of energy on Lyoko. But he picks up Aelita, and he restores her memories. He basically uses some of his own energy on Lyoko to restore what XANA took from her, and then some. And this is how we get like this series of flashbacks. And again, this is another moment that this scene still to this day gives me goosebumps when I go and watch it, because it's really brilliantly done. It is 2D animation, but it's done as more of a slideshow than like an actual animated sequence. And there's like a really good flashback filter on it that isn't obnoxious. But we basically see that when Aelita was a little girl, she got Mr. Puck as a Christmas present from her mother. And that like a few days later, because at the time they didn't live in the Hermitage, they lived in the mountains in Holland, the Men in Black came and took Aelita's mother. Just took, and as far as Aelita is fucking concerned, her mother just disappeared one day. One day she was in her life, the next day she wasn't. And after that, Franz Hopper was like, okay, the government is fucking with me. I need to get the fuck out of here. Like, this was the beginning of his paranoia. And she took him, or he took her to the Hermitage. He made new lives for them. He didn't enroll her in Caddick, even though Caddick was right fucking there. He homeschooled her. But he went and got a job at Caddick as a math teacher. They actually specifically say at one point he had the position that one of the teachers, who was a very minor character that doesn't affect the main plot, had at one point. And he basically did all the stuff with the factory, started building the supercomputer, started trying to counter Project Carthage. And And, like, the show doesn't say this explicitly, but I have always theorized that, like, he made Project Carfish, he started getting cold feet about it, and that's why the Men in Black took Aelita's mother. It was basically like, hey, you're going to finish this, and then you're not going to fuck with us again, or shit's going to happen to your wife, kind of a thing. But he ran away, he made the new identities, he made the supercomputer. We basically know already at this point, but the factory is also owned in his name, or in his pseudonym. And then he did the living the same day for 7 years thing, and he got paranoid, and that's when he put himself and Aelita on Lyoko, and at some point after that, the supercomputer was deactivated. We never find out who turned the supercomputer off. I would theorize that it was the Men in Black. Maybe they were actually watching him, and they caught up to him, and they were like, we're just gonna turn this off, and we're gonna leave this place the fuck alone, and we're gonna make sure nobody fucks with it for a while. It's just gonna be an abandoned factory that nobody's gonna think twice about from now on. And importantly, all of that happens in 1994. The show takes place in 2003. Aelita is technically way older than the others. She should be like 22 by now. But
that would not have been how old she would be. No, you're right. I was forgetting. Yeah.
So, being on Lyoko, you don't age. And that's the whole thing, is they can't just go back and put in, like, reactivate her records as Aelita Schaefer. She has to stay Aelita Stones from now on, which is the last name she takes when she gets the cover story of being Odd's cousin. And they never really address it beyond that, but I feel like that should be a huge problem, because, like, yeah, they forged government documents for her, but, like, there's an episode where the principal gets suspicious of her and, like, calls the Canadian consulate and is like, hey, have you ever heard of this girl? And they're like, yeah, we have no record of this person. So, like, if anybody even slightly looks into her documents, they're going to find out that she's, like, lying about some shit and discover the secrets of the factory. But that never comes up again in the series. It's just in that one episode. But that is the end of season 1, and I can tell it's getting a little hot in here. Do we want to take a brief recess?
Season 2, and I don't care.
Sure, I'd like a drink.
Obviously, I'm tired and I'm starting to forget things, so let's take a little recess.
A siesta?
Yeah. It's like 10, 15 minutes. Alright, class. Before we get back into it, one quick thing I forgot to mention about the keys to Lyoko. Obviously, after XANA gets all of Aelita's memory, he does get the keys to Lyoko, and he escapes the supercomputer. Going forward in the show, he is out in the world. We don't know exactly where he is. We don't know exactly what he's doing. But he does keep coming back to Lyoko to launch attacks and fuck with the kids. That's the only thing about Season 2 that I forgot to mention. But before we continue, I want to know how everybody's feeling about the story so far. What are we learning? What are we thinking? Any predictions?
I give it 4 Lyokos out of 5.
Wow. How about you?
Glowing endorsement.
I give it 4 sectors out of 4.
Hey, my man.
Well, there's technically 5 sectors, isn't there?
Yeah, actually, right. I titled the other sectors. Why am I where?
I mean, wouldn't it also be 6 considering, is it DigitalOcean? Is that what it's called?
The Digital Sea.
The ocean, if you will.
Well, see, it's called the DigitalOcean in Digimon. Like, there is a legit DigitalOcean.
There we go. That's good enough.
Like, you're talking and describing some aspects of Lyoko. I'm just going like, oh, so like Digimon.
Fuck off.
No! Like, genuinely, that's a big thing with Digimon. There's multiple areas that are connected by the servers. There's File Island, so on and so forth. There's a DigitalOcean where a lot of random data is, and there is connections to other virtual pet toys that Bandai created, including Magical Girls.
Oh, well, maybe you should do a fucking Digimon lecture at the next summit.
One day.
But, yeah, so when we last left our heroes, we found out that Aelita is the daughter of Franz Hopper. We found out all this shit about who Franz Hopper is, about the past, about how Lyoko came to be. And XANA basically won. It is treated as like a huge moment of defeat when XANA gets the keys to Lyoko and escapes. But there's still hope in the end with Aelita getting all her memories back and them resolving to keep fighting XANA. Like, there is the literal last season of season 2 is them in Jeremy's room and like processing everything they just went through, and Aelita being like, well, I have to keep fighting XANA no matter what, even if we don't know where he is now, because that is my job. And they all join hands, and Jeremy goes, no, it's our job. It's a nice wholesome moment. But we are now in season 3, which I have titled Code XANA, because Code XANA is a big thing throughout the show. It's kind of the anti-Code Lyoko that Aelita enters into the towers. I'll get into it more in just a minute. But basically, this season picks up about a month or 2 later. It's definitively after summer break, because the first season of the show, or the first scene of the episode that starts season 3, is Odd and Ulrich getting back from summer vacation and checking in with the others at the factory. And they basically find out, like, yeah, XANA was quiet all summer, but that's not exactly a good thing, because he's still out there somewhere planning something, and it must be something big if he hasn't done anything to fuck with us for a month or so. This is the point where we start getting a few more developments in relation to Lyoko. Most important of which is Aelita finally gets a way of defending herself on Lyoko. She gets an attack. She can generate these sort of balls of energy that she calls energy fields and launches at the monsters. They envelop the monsters and sort of one shot kill almost any of them. And so they don't have to worry about protecting her on Lyoko as much. Also, because she no longer has the virus, because XANA took that along with her memories, she can be devirtualized and just come back at the scanners. She's totally fine. They don't have to do escort missions anymore, basically. But when they get back into the school year and everybody starts getting their classes for the new semester, something funny happens. They find out Odd got put in different classes from everyone. Like, Yumi has always had different classes because she's a grade higher, and that's been a thing that's made it a little hard to coordinate attacks sometimes. But now, with Odd in the same grade but in completely separate classes from everybody, it's going to make it... Wow.
How many demerits is that?
That's like 10 demerits right there. I'll have to sort myself out later. Odd is basically like, this is fucking bullshit. Somebody's trying to split us up. So he goes and tries to make his case to the principal, and the principal's like, well, I understand you're upset, but it actually wasn't my decision. Your gym teacher insisted on doing this, and I kind of owed him one for the whole incident earlier this year, so I had to do it. I'm sorry. And Odd is like, okay, Jim is fucking with us again. What's it gonna take to undo this? And Jim's like, look, I still think you kids are up to something, and I have to do something to put a stop to it, so I had you put in separate classes, and I'm not gonna undo it. I'm sorry. And Odd's like, okay, time to go to plan B, blackmail. So he goes on the internet and tries to find something embarrassing about Jim's past, because of course Jim has a crazy complicated past. There's got to be something he doesn't want getting out in there, especially because he'd rather not talk about most of it. And he finds that Jim, the most notable thing that comes up when you Google Jim, is that he was the star of a 70s disco film called Paco the King of Disco, and it is horrible. It is a so bad it's good movie that completely flopped back in the day, and no one's ever heard of it before. But when he shows Jim he has a copy of it, and he's like, hey, put me back in my class, or every student is gonna see this. Jim is like, first of all, fuck you. Second of all, okay. And he just sets it back to normal. And interestingly enough, when Odd goes to Lyoko to help them deal with a XANA attack that day, he tells the others, like, hey, I fixed the problem. I'm going to be back in the class now. And they're like, oh, what did you have to do? Oh, I just blackmailed Jim. They're like, you fucking what? That is not cool. Go ahead.
They already told him once, and he was cool with it. Why don't they just tell him again? Because he was cool with it.
I don't know. There's a lot of instances in the show where somebody finds out the secret of the factory and ends up being helpful to them, and then they undo it with the return to the past. And there will be a moment later in Code XANA where they're like, things are getting really tough. We might need to bring in an additional member. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to bring in Jim? You're going to bring in Sissy? Because there's several episodes early on where Sissy finds out, and she ends up having like a heart of gold and being like, I was only like constantly coming on the orc and bullying you guys because I wanted real friends and I didn't know how to get them. And I'm like Sissy gets a lot of like moments to shine early on, and like she would have been the natural choice for the 6th Lyoko warrior, but for some reason they never even consider her or Jim, even though Jim has already proven himself to be a total Chad Super King badass. It's a huge fucking plot hole that even as a kid I saw.
Could it be more considered a character plot hole? Because it doesn't affect the plot, it's just more of like, that's a glaring issue on the characterization of these heroes.
Yeah, because like I said, they hear that Odd blackmailed Jim, and they are just like, dude, that's not okay. Blackmail is a shitty thing to do to somebody, even in a situation like this. And later that episode, he gives Jim his only copy of Paco the King of Disco, and he's like, look, I know I was an asshole. I'm sorry. Can you please still keep me in the same class as my friends? Boarding school is really hard, and it's even harder when you can't talk to your friends all day. And Jim's like, I'm going to regret this, but all right. It's one of those kind of things. I'm saying that a lot tonight.
It's just one of those kind of things.
It's just one of those days where everybody sucks. Everybody sucks. Don't really know why, but you want to justify ripping someone's head off.
Okay.
That should count as demerit.
I'll allow it. But that attack that day isn't actually an activated tower. What it is they detect a bunch of monsters convening in this new room that they've never seen before in Sector 5. And to get to it, they have to actually go out into the superstructure, get on their vehicles, and fly to the bottom of it, where they see there's like this door that is constantly opening and closing. It deadass looks like a pulsating penis. It's like this spiral shape that keeps sealing and resealing itself, and they have to time it right to fly up in there, and they hit a key, and it takes them into a room, and in that room is where all the monsters are, shooting at the core of Lyoko. They find the core of where all the programming is. It's just this sphere that's protected by 2 square energy shields, and if those shields give out, you can just fire 1 laser shot, and that automatically hits the delete key on Lyoko. XANA is now trying to destroy Lyoko itself to stop the Lyoko warriors from ever interfering with him. What's up, Boingo?
With the pulsating anus door, I now fully believe this show is French.
Yeah, that's another thing about the show people like to talk about a lot. There are a lot of moments where you see characters in various states of undress. You never straight up like see tits or ass or dick or anything like that, but there's a lot of shirtless scenes. There's a lot of scenes, especially early on, where like it always makes sense in universe, like somebody is changing or coming out of the shower, but it's just like at the time that wouldn't have been allowed in an American kids show. So there's a lot of stuff like that, but it's not important to the plot, so that's why I didn't bring it up till now. Also, at the same time of this is where we get a couple of very big developments in the love triangle of Ulrich, William, and Yumi. Because Yumi basically goes like, look, we've spent the bulk of this year just chasing each other around, trying to decide if we're going to get together or not. And the fact of the matter is, I'm fucking sick of it. So, Ulrich, let's just be friends from now on. Like, she gives him the let's be friends talk, and he does not take it well. Like, he gives everyone... He basically sulks while still doing his job of helping fight XANA. Like, he just gives everyone the silent treatment for a little while. And then, at the same time, William starts coming on to Yumi more and more, And at first you think, like, okay, maybe they're going to get together, but turns out she's not okay with that either, because at one time he basically acts like a creeper. Not the XANA monster, but like the real life term, a creeper, because there's a moment where he catches her sneaking out of her house to go help with a XANA attack one night, and she's like, don't fucking tell my parents or anyone at the school that I'm doing this. And he's like, okay, but you have to kiss me. And it's like, fucking seriously, dude? But she handles it pretty well. She just goes, okay, close your eyes. And then she just fucking books it. And because he's not entirely a shithead, he still doesn't tell him. But that is a thing where she just starts pushing him away more and more. And like I said, there's a point where they go like, okay, XANA is really stepping up his game and trying to destroy Lyoko, and it's getting hard to handle. And Jeremy's having a hard time figuring out where exactly he went to. The only real thing we have to go on is he's not in the supercomputer anymore. Maybe he got onto the internet somehow. So Jeremy is like trying to find XANA on the internet somewhere. And it's never said how he's doing that, but that they basically just say that is what he's doing. So we need help. We don't know how to get a hold of Franz Hopper again. We don't even know if Franz Hopper is still alive. He's somewhere in the Code of Lyoko. We need another Lyoko warrior, basically. And everyone, including Ulrich, is like, well, maybe we should bring William in. He seems like he might be capable. He has some fighting ability because he's helped them out with a few XANA attacks and then not remembered it because of Return to the Past before. Maybe we should give him the benefit of the doubt. And Yumi is like, nah. And the vote has to be unanimous, so they don't bring him in. But that won't last long. The other big thing, the overarching nature of XANA's plots in this season is somewhat similar to Season 2, where XANA is still possessing people and trying to bring Aelita to Lyoko, but it's not to get her memory anymore. It's to use the Schizozoa to possess her and then have her go into towers and run Code XANA. And this is where we find out what Code XANA is. It is basically a delete key for an individual sector. And we find this out initially when Aelita gets possessed and just deletes the desert sector. The desert sector is just fucking gone. There's like a whole sequence where they have to run away as it's being like procedurally deleted behind them, and Jeremy has to quickly bring them all back in. And so that becomes sort of the ongoing struggle. XANA is trying to activate towers to possess Aelita and get her to delete sectors, or he's running attacks on the core of Lyoko. And they're constantly having to play defense while Jeremy's trying to find where exactly XANA is. What's up, Boingo?
Just from listening to everything you've been saying and not having a direct purpose for XANA of why XANA exists, considering that Code XANA is a delete function, maybe it had something related to do with the previous project Franz Hopper was in, and he was developing XANA to delete whatever he was working on.
It's entirely possible. That's a good theory I hadn't thought of before.
And that could be what the initialism is for. Because is like X whatever I was working on, whatever. You know, it could be related to that.
Okay. So
I'm just suggesting.
No. I'm not trying to brush you off. I do like this idea. I'm just trying to get on to the next point, which is that the deleting of the sectors basically continues on. It basically goes for a little while of like XANA will keep trying to delete a sector, occasionally just go for the core, and they'll rebuff him a few times, and then eventually he will succeed. He gets rid of the forest, he gets rid of the ice sector, and I believe this is the correct order. He gets rid of the mountains, and we're left with just Sector 5, where the core is. And when the mountain sector is deleted, it's also in an episode where XANA does a plot of possessing a demolitions expert and having them put bombs all over the factory to try and blow it up and stop the kids that way. And William actually ends up being really helpful because after Yumi starts rebuffing him, he gets really suspicious of what's going on with them. And he one day follows them to the factory and finds it and finds everything out. And then they hit the return to the past on him. And then this episode happens where he finds it again for a different method of following them. And they're like, we've got to deal with this fucking bomb, and we got to deactivate the tower. We can't just run a return to the past right now. William, you can actually be helpful. Why don't you... Yumi's in swim class right now. Why don't you go fucking get her so she can help us? He goes and does that, and then when he gets back, he sees the bombs, and he's like, oh, I know how to defuse that. My uncle's a demolitions expert. I've gone with him to work a few times. So, William defuses the bomb at the last second, saving the day, and then they deactivate the tower and run the return to the past and vote again and decide to make him a Lyoko warrior. What's up?
Are you sure that kid's from France? Because he sounds like he's from fucking Florida.
I don't know, man. They never say where exactly he's from. It's a boarding school. I get the impression Odd's from out of the country because whenever he goes to visit his family, he has to go through the airport.
Well, his last name's De La Rosa?
De La Robia.
De La Robia?
Mm-hmm.
That does not sound French.
Mm-hmm. And the others usually get picked up by car. I guess I could talk for a second again here. The kids' parents, they're not a huge factor in the show. Like I said, we see Yumi's family like every couple of episodes, but they never really have a huge impact on the plot. No one's parents really do. Yumi's parents are basically just like stereotypical Japanese parents. They're pretty traditional. Her mom's very much the housewife. Her father's the breadwinner who comes home and acts like he shouldn't have to think about anything and he gets to relax because he's not at work now. Hiroki's pretty annoying to her, but it's just typical sibling stuff. And they actually have a few wholesome moments here and there. Ulrich does not get on with his dad at all. His dad is really strict. Once things like if he doesn't have straight A's and he's not doing great in sports, then he is wasting his money sending Ulrich to Caddick. So he's constantly, and by constantly I mean it happens a couple times in the show, but he's always whenever he shows up, it's to go like, Ulrich, your grades are fucking slipping. You didn't win the big game, man. What's going on? I think your friends are a bad influence. And that's always what gets Ulrich to stand up to him is whenever his dad comments on his friends. He's like, you can trash me for having bad grades and being shit at sports all you want. You don't fucking say shit about my friends. His mom seems pretty chill, though. We see her once, and she doesn't seem that bad. We see Odd's parents in one episode in the final season, and they are basically like free-spirited hippie parents. Like, he actually doesn't like his parents because he thinks they let him get away with too much. Like, that's why he's kind of a loud, obnoxious asshole, is because he's always trying to act out to see if his parents will actually get mad at him, because he feels very annoyed that he doesn't have the same thing other kids do of constantly getting in trouble with their parents for acting like a shithead. That's another way he's a bit of a idiot motherfucker, is you're like, oh, you have ideal parents and you're still unhappy? What the fuck? Jeremy probably has the best parents out of anybody, though, because his dad, we never see his mom, but his parents are definitely together, and his dad shows up a few times, and whenever his dad shows up, he's like, hey son, how's it going? You okay? What do you need? He's very much just like, I am here to support my genius boy and help him out in any way he needs. Like, there's an episode where they're all going back home for the holidays, and we find out apparently Jeremy has mentioned Ailita a few times to his dad, and he's like, you said she's an orphan. Is she staying at the school for the holidays? Yeah, no, fuck that. She's gonna come have the holidays with us. I can tell. Jeremy and Ailita never officially start dating. They're just kind of an unspoken couple throughout the show. But his dad can tell that Jeremy has a crush on Ailita, and he's just like, yeah, if your girlfriend's not gonna spend Christmas alone, she can come to the house. But after William joins the group, we go into the season 3 finale, where they basically give William the lowdown. They tell him everything that's been happening, and they're like, all right, listen, dude, this shit is serious. When you go to Lyoko, do not run in head first. You're going to want to stay back and learn from us as you go, because you will get your shit fucked if you just try and play hero. And he's like, all right, cool, I get it. But the whole time he's clearly just going like, fuck yeah, I get to be a superhero now, and I get to hang out with Yumi all the time. This is going to be awesome. I'm gonna take over this thing. I'm gonna be the big badass Six Ranger Tommy Oliver man. And literally the next day after they add him into the group, they have a day where nobody but Aelita can get to the factory to deal with a XANA attack on the core of Lyoko. Jeremy is being filmed for a documentary for the school paper. Ulrich is getting a visit and a talking to from his dad. Is at a skating competition. I forget what Yumi's doing. I think she's got like some kind of family thing going on. But basically, William and Aelita are the only ones that can go to the factory. And luckily, Aelita has kind of learned from Jeremy how to use the supercomputer by this point. So she sets up a delayed virtualization for them. They go down to the scanner room. They go straight to Sector 5, because that's another thing Jeremy figures out around this time. They never say how. He just off-screen, after the mountain sector is destroyed, goes like, all right, it took a bit, but I figured out how to get us directly virtualized on the Sector 5. So XANA can't just jump in and destroy the core. We will be able to defend it. What's up, Snow?
They probably figured that out because all the other sectors were gone and they needed that little in.
I mean, that was the impetus, yes, but they never figure out they never say the method, Zan. Jeremy figured out. What's up?
The method is that the writers needed that to happen.
Obviously.
The good Stanley rule. Who's gonna win? Whoever the writer wants to fucking win.
Alright, so unfortunately, who the writer wants to win in the season 3 finale is XANA, because as soon as they get to Lyoko, we see William's virtualized form. He basically has like a martial arts gi and a big fucking guts buster sword, and he's like, this is awesome, and just runs in and starts attacking creepers. And Aelita's like, maybe you should let me. And all right, I'm gonna get the key. All right, let's go. Let's get to the core zone. William, and he's just busy at fighting monsters, and he doesn't see the Schifozoa come in from behind him. It grabs him, XANA possesses him, and he devirtualizes Aelita. Luckily, at the same time, the others finally get to the factory, and so Jeremy sends Autowork and Yumi to go fight Xanafied William and protect the core, but they're too late. There's already too much damage done to the core. They're no match for Xanafied William. XANA succeeds in destroying Lyoko. And they think that William and Franz Hopper are gone along with it. Like, they basically think their friends just died. And the final scene of season 3 is them sitting in the Hermitage being like, oh shit, what are we gonna do now? When all of a sudden, the activated tower alarm starts going off on Jeremy's laptop. So they open it, and they see that Franz Hopper has just sent them a message from inside the internet. Dun, dun, dun. So that leads us into the final arc, the fall of XANA. Now, unlike the other arcs, that's not based off of episode titles. That's actually the name of the video game that covers this portion of the story. We'll talk about the video games a little bit later, but I just think that's the best name for the final arc out of anything that we have from that or the actual season 3 episode titles. So that's why I picked it. We pick up about a week later, I think. Let me just look. And we find out that the message Franz Hopper sent Jeremy contains the data to recreate Lyoko. And Jeremy and Aelita have been working furiously for the last couple weeks trying to get all of that set up. So when season 4 opens, the first thing they do is they recreate Sector 5. So Sector 5 is back now, and they start working on getting the other sectors back. But it's going to take time because that shit is complicated. What's up?
Question: do they only put one tower in each section so they know exactly which tower XANA would attack to do anything?
No, but that would be really fucking smart. They should have done that. And I mean, like, it's not like they don't know what towers are being attacked, because again, there's the red smoke, and also because of the super scan, and in season 1, Aelita detecting the pulsations, they can go like, alright, the tower is that fucking way.
But if they know exactly where, if there's only one tower in each section, all they have to do is go to like right outside that tower because they can pop in close to it.
Mm-hmm. Also, I changed the Sector 5 visual to green from blue because I don't remember if I remember to say, when XANA activates towers, it's red smoke. When Jeremy activates towers, it's green smoke. When Franz Hopper activates towers, because he does do that a couple times in season 3, I think, it's blue smoke. So anything related to the Lyoko Warriors, I've given green, or anything that's generally good, I've given green. Anything related to XANA, I've given red. Anything related to Franz Hopper, I've given blue, and I'm just kind of using purple for neutral parties. I'm gonna have to touch this board up a bit before I take a picture of it after this for the end screen. That was a pain in the ass. So also at the start of season 4, Yumi starts dropping hints to Ulrich again. She starts going like, "Hey, maybe I'm still interested in you. Maybe we should actually give this thing a try." That's just a thing that runs throughout the season. Is there, because William's gone now, their will they won't they starts back up. Then because hey, a fucking kid is missing from the school, how are we gonna explain that? Jeremy activates a tower to create a polymorphic Spectre clone of William to fill in his place until they can get William back. Because initially they're like, we don't know where the fuck William is. We don't know if he's dead or alive. We know Franz Hopper's alive. We know XANA's out there somewhere. We don't know what's up with William because he was on Lyoko when XANA destroyed it. And he was still possessed by XANA. So he shows up just a little bit later, I think in the very next episode actually, as with a new, more dark looking animation model and like some stuff on his sword that makes it look like it's corrupted and XANA logos everywhere. And he's basically XANA's Darth Vader now. For most of season 4, William is just like a more personified antagonist for the others to fight as the lead of attacks. There will still be monsters. Like, he'll typically ride in on like a manta, but primarily they are dealing with William because he's stronger and more capable than any of the monsters are. So he's the real threat. But also, to counter William, Jeremy takes the time to upgrade everybody's Lyoko body. And this is how we get new animation models for everybody. The 4th and final season features new animation models both on Earth and on Lyoko. What's up?
Don't they use that in that one thing you're probably not going to mention in this?
No, those are even different animation. But the new animation models are basically more unified. They look more Tron-esque. A lot of the individual and maybe potentially oof things about them, like Odd's image of Kiwi peeing on his shirt is gone. Yumi no longer looks like a geisha, which that is a thing for her model in the early seasons, and a lot of people find that kind of culturally insensitive now, even though she is a Japanese woman.
I mean, it's like a geisha and a Konoichi had a baby.
Yeah, sort of, kind of.
It's very ninja-like.
And also I completely forgot to mention, Yumi's main method of fighting is she has a fan she can throw that acts like sort of a combination boomerang and razor blade. And her superpower is that she has telekinesis on Lyoko. So that's a thing. And with the upgrades, Odd also gets stronger laser arrows. He gets actual cat paws he can use to have a melee attack. Ulrich gets an extra sword, Yumi gets an extra fan, and Aelita gets wings. She has a bracelet that she can tap on Lyoko that make like these holographic angel wings she can use to fly around for the rest of the season, so she doesn't have to always ride with everybody anymore. And also, there's an adorable moment where after she gets them, she's like, "What the fuck is this?" And Jeremy explains it. She's like, "Oh, Jeremy, you're the wind beneath my wings." It's cute. So that's a thing. I don't generally have a preference. I know there's some people who prefer the earlier animation models. There's people who prefer the later animation models. I just like that they're introduced later on as like a way to show like, hey, these characters have grown over the course of the seasons, and they're now more mature than they were when they started. Especially Ulrich. Something about his new Earth animation model just makes him look older. And I kind of dig it. They also realize that because of the Xanafied William, they may have to start fighting Xana on Earth more, and they start sort of preparing for this possibility, and that's just kind of a thing that hangs in the background for a little bit. Well, we introduce the next big mechanic of the series, because we've talked about Lyoko, we've talked about the Digital Sea, we haven't really talked about the way the internet works in this show. And there's actually a great bit where Jeremy kind of illustrates it all visually for everyone, kind of the way I'm about to. And at this point, they have restored the 4 sectors, so I will just real quick draw that. But in the show, Lyoko is visualized as sort of a massive sphere, like a Dyson sphere, floating in an ocean of data. And that ocean of data is the internet, and that's what the Digital Sea is. It's overrun from the internet coming into Lyoko, allowing them to connect. There is a tube in the Digital Sea that allows them to go out into the internet. But because the Digital Sea is dangerous, if you get that shit on you, you will be virtualized forever. They create a new program that basically creates a virtual submarine they can use to travel through the Digital Sea and look for Xana. And initially, Odd wants to name it Mallory, but everybody vetoes that, and Aelita goes, hey, let's kind of keep with the theming of using mythical names and stuff like that. My father used to read me this book about Norse mythology. Let's call it the Skid Bladnir, or Skid for short. So that becomes a thing where they start using that to go out onto the internet and search around, and they start finding more spheres like this, except the spheres they find, they have virtual worlds. They have, like, worlds that look like copies of Lyoko, but there's only one sector each. And these worlds are all virtual worlds that are created from Lyoko's data by Xana. Xana has been going out into the world and taking over other really powerful computers out there and using them to create new virtual worlds to have more power to manipulate things in the real world. And that sort of becomes the plot of Season 4, is going around finding these replicas, as they are called, and destroying them to sort of weaken Xana. They do a lot of episodes of doing that, while also fighting off Xanafied William and trying to find a way to free him from Xana's control.
Kind of seems like if you were to add maybe a dot in the middle of that little diagram there, it'd look a lot similar to the logo there, wouldn't it?
A little bit, yeah. Alright, what do I need to talk about next?
I'm touching you.
I am not touching you. I put my hand on the side of your chair several times. Pipe down, you. I'm about to give out some demerits. Fucking leave him alone. So, naturally, with finding these replicas and destroying them, they can't just do it from the inside, because it's only one sector. They can't go to Sector 5 and find a core. They don't know how to run Code XANA themselves. So, they instead figure out a way of materializing everybody onto Earth from the replicas and going and destroying those computers physically. Because when they do that, they do have a bit of a delay. They can get back onto the virtual world, get in the Skidbladnir, and escape as it's sort of falling apart. Now, this was one of the coolest things about the show to me as a kid, because the way this happens is they don't just pop out in these real worlds as their physical bodies. It's like Jeremy's creating a polymorphic specter of them that has their consciousness in it, and they manifest as a 2D version of their Lyoko 3D models. And they fight Xanified people who are guarding these supercomputers or regular computers. They say they're supercomputers, but none of them look anything like the one in the factory, so I don't know how true that is. What's up?
Does it look like a giant room just full of server racks?
No,
Because that's normally what a supercomputer looks
they're
like.
always portrayed a little bit differently. What's up?
Also, this is just a fun fact. Did you know the U.S. military once had a supercomputer just made of PS3s?
Sorry.
I did not know that, but that's cool.
Your Facebook.
Demerit. Both of you. So, they're working on destroying these replicas, but just because they're in polymorphic specters doesn't mean they're in tip-top shape to fight XANA in the real world. So, this is where Jim re-enters the plot. They enlist Jim to basically run a boot camp for them one day, which kind of ends up going south when XANA possesses a wild boar and starts attacking them. But during that attack, Jeremy gets stuck protecting Jim, and they end up bonding. And it's been a thing all throughout the show up to this point that, like, whenever Jim is actually conducting a class, he'll use Jeremy as, like, the example of what not to be a really good athlete, because all Jeremy does is look at his computer all day. He's scrawny. He doesn't have any muscles. He can't do any of the things that we do in this class. He fucking sucks. The only reason I give him a passing grade is because he shows up, and that's all you need to pass gym class. But don't be Jeremy. Fucking do shit. Get strong. Get good, kids. And during this attack, they actually have some time alone while they're hiding from the XANA-possessed boar to kind of, like, explain their philosophies to each other, and they end up becoming friends to the point of where the other Lyoko warriors are surprised when Jeremy doesn't run a return to the past. He's like, no, Jim's gonna keep running the boot camp. I'm gonna keep going because I do need it. I've always been the weakest link whenever XANA attacks Earth, so this is gonna help me even if you guys aren't gonna go. They don't tell him the secrets of the factory again, though. They're just like, will you fucking give us extracurricular classes so we can get good? And that is a little silly. I specifically remember going like, come on, really? When I was rewatching For the Lecture. But that is a whole thing. What is next? So also while all this is happening, Aelita starts having nightmares about the day her mother disappeared, just remembering it more and more vividly, and it becomes a thing that really sticks in her mind to the point where during an episode where Franz Hopper contacts them and says, hey, I'm still alive, I'm on the network, but I'm very weak, but I can send you data on how to stop XANA. XANA decides to do an attack where he tricks Aelita into coming to Lyoko, saying that he is Franz Hopper, and like, hey, come to this specific spot in the ice sector, and I'll be there waiting for you. And there's like this energy bubble that she walks in, goes from 3D to 2D, and it's like she's back in their old house in Holland. And she goes and sits down and talks with her father for a minute before realizing that it's not him, because she goes, hey, where's Mom? I think you would have recreated Mom if you were trying to recreate our old home. So what's up, XANA? And the Spectre is just like, all right, fuck you, I'm gonna kill you now. And she escapes the bubble, but they're still attacking her, and the other Lyoko warriors show up to help her. And that's when Franz Hopper reappears as the energy orb, and we find out that XANA has been using Aelita as bait to lure Franz Hopper back because XANA is trying to destroy his creator. Did you want to ask something? You clearly.
Didn't we just talk about this when I said Ultron earlier?
Yeah. It's sort of like that. Also, during the final season, this is where the whole kind of subplot of Aelita being an amateur DJ kind of comes to a head of, like, she has a few small gigs here and there. She's slowly getting better and better. Eventually, she has a gig where a member of the in-universe band, the Subsonics, are at, and he's really impressed by her. And they have her to an audition in season 4, and they make her their opening act. So that's kind of her. Unlike anyone else in the show, she now has a day job of being the opening act for this big local band. I don't think she ever goes on tour. Also, they're no longer called the Subsonics. At some point after season 2, they changed their name to the Subdigitals. It's never explained. Also, this is where we find out the whole thing about Aelita's real last name being Schaefer, because up until then, everybody had just assumed that her real last name was Hopper. And the whole thing with the principal looking into her fake IDs happens, and they're like, hey, how come he didn't find anything about Aelita Hopper? And she's like, because that's not my last name. And they're like, what? Yeah, it's Schaefer. Then she explains about how the pseudonym works and everything. That's where that happens. What's up?
When does Agumon show up?
Fuck you. Demerit. One more demerit, we're gonna get the whistle out. So, while destroying a replica at this juncture, they find out, because XANA activates a tower to materialize a specter of William to counter the others trying to destroy his supercomputer, Aelita goes to deactivate that tower on the replica, and then she's like, wait a fucking second. If XANA's using this tower to materialize William's data has to be in here. We can copy this data, study it, figure out how XANA is controlling William, and get him free of XANA's control. And Jeremy's like, oh, why didn't I fucking think of that? Yeah, do that. Everyone just hold the Spectre off until Aelita can get the data and deactivate the tower. So that happens in one episode. Also in this episode, because they do this and XANA immediately realizes what's going on, he starts compiling data from all his replicas. And this is where we find out there isn't just a replica of each sector. There isn't just a bunch of replicas. There isn't just a few tens of replicas, a few dozens of replicas. There's over 100 replicas out there. XANA's reach extends far beyond what the Lyoko warriors are capable of dealing with, and Jeremy basically goes, oh fuck, I'm going to have to come up with a new way of dealing with this other than just destroying the replicas individually. So that's a thing during the final arc. But the reason XANA is compiling all this data together is he is introducing his final monster. Now, up till this point in Season 4, we have met a few new monsters, and they've all been in the Digital Sea. There's the Kongers, which are like anglerfish-looking motherfuckers that'll attack the Skidblaneer, and the Skidblaneer can also split into individual nav skids. It's like the Fantastic Car, and they have like Star Wars-esque dogfights against monsters on the Digital Sea. There's also sharks. They're literally just called sharks. Normal spelling. There's no special spelling like the crabs or anything. But they're basically just faster Kongers. There's also the drill squid, which only shows up in one episode, and XANA uses to kind of try and break into one of their individual nav skids so that they'll get covered in the Digital Sea and virtualized forever. But the final monster is the Colossus, which is this big kaiju-sized motherfucker that has XANA symbols all over it and looks like there's lava flowing between its joints. And as a kid, for reasons I'll get into in a minute, I never saw this thing in the show. I never got to this point. I only saw it on the cover of the video game Code Lyoko: The Fall of XANA, and for the longest time, I thought that's what XANA's physical form looked like. I'm like, oh, that must be what XANA really looks like. Because I spent my entire childhood wondering what XANA looks like up until I saw that game cover. And that was just a theory I had for years until I actually got to the point in that game where you encountered a Colossus. Because that game took me a while to beat. What's up, Boingo?
How Russian is it?
It's not Russian at all. It doesn't speak. It's just a big kaiju motherfucker that it takes a lot of effort to beat. Okay, so, yeah, this would be a good time to start getting into this. So, as we've discussed, Code Lyoko was originally a French show. It aired on France 5, but pretty immediately it was brought over to America and dubbed into English. There's also a Spanish dub. I think there's one or two other dubs out there. But the American dub is the one that people are most familiar with outside of France. It's also sort of infamous for either chopping lines of dialogues down so much that they feel awkward in order to fit them in the lip flops, or as they start doing in the 4th season, and I only saw this in the 4th season upon this watch through. It might be in other ones and I just missed it, but there are instances where they will just have the actors record the dialogue as normal, and then they will speed it up in post to fit it in the lip flaps, and it sounds borderline chipmunkish. It's really bad. That's the one place where I will concede the dub is bad, is in those speed up moments. But the American dub aired on Cartoon Network. It aired as part of a block of shows that was basically like the your little brother's version of Toonami. It was called Magoozy. It's also where shows like Ben 10 aired for a very long time. It was a whole thing on Cartoon Network for a little bit there in the mid-2000s. But the last 10 episodes never aired on American television. And they were released online only on Cartoon Network's website initially, literally just because the head of Cartoon Network didn't care for the show. He never gave a reason why. He never said, like, oh, it's not appropriate for our audience, it's this, it's that, it's the other thing. He just one day went, yeah, I don't like that show, let's just not air the rest of it. And they dumped the last 10 episodes online. And I, as a kid, never found this out. I went years without ever seeing the last 10 episodes. I actually thought the show ended on a cliffhanger of them finding out about the other replica. Or, no, it was something a little bit before that. There's another, like, pseudo-cliffhanger moment a little bit before the replicas. Because, again, I never saw the Colossus, or I never knew what the Colossus was as a kid. So the original way I experienced the end of the show was through the Fall of XANA video game. I didn't see the last few episodes until they got officially released on YouTube. And that's something we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, almost all the show is available officially on YouTube right now. So you can click out of here and go watch it if you wanted to. But hey, stay and finish the lecture. We need that ad revenue. Fuck you. I'd give you a demerit, but it's 9:30, and I really don't want to blow the whistle and wake somebody up, honestly. You want a demerit? Well, so let's get into those last 10 episodes. First important thing that happens here is Odd pulls a prank where he gives an embarrassing photo of Yumi to the childhood, or an embarrassing childhood photo of Yumi to the school newspaper. Okay, I've been doing this for a minute. I'm starting to slur my words here, sorry. To the school newspaper, and he blames it on Ulrich. Like, he literally tricks him into taking the fall by saying, like, hey, I did something stupid and Yumi's going to be mad at me. Can you take the blame for it? And Ulrich's like, what is it? I'm not going to tell you. Well, I'm not going to take the fall. If you take the fall, I'll do your homework. And then Yumi bursts in and is like, what the fuck? Why did you do this to Odd? And he's like, it was Ulrich. And he just rolls with it for the entire episode, and she's pissed at him until they're on the replica of the week, dealing with that, Odd says something, like, they both go to Earth to deal with the replica, and Yumi's like, I can't believe Ulrich. Why would he ever think to do that? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe he wanted you to get him to notice him or something. And that one line is used by so many people to justify an Odd Yumi ship. I don't understand it at all. It's bizarre. There's a lot of shipping in the Code Lyoko fandom. I only really wanted to touch on the canon ones, but basically any character gets shipped with any other character in this fandom. It was peak Tumblr for a minute there. What's up, Snow?
That's every fandom.
You're right. And that's why I hate fandoms. What's up, Boingo?
Is there any fan art between Franz Hopper and Jimbo?
No, but there should be. So, Yumi takes that and realizes, like, oh, Ulrich does want to get back together, and he pulled this stunt because he's a year younger than me, and he's more immature, and he's just being a stupid boy. So when they get back to Earth at the end of the episode, she's like, hey, want to just be a couple now? And he's like, what? I thought you were mad at me. She's like, no, I figured it out. It's cool. We'll let bygones be bygones. And she kisses him on the cheek. And from now on, they're basically a couple. Like, there's a weird thing in the show where, like I said, Aelita and Jeremy are basically a couple from the moment she comes to Earth, but they only, like, go on a date once, and it's never, like, a very explicit relationship. And it's the same thing with Ulrich and Yumi from this point. Like, they're basically a couple now, but we never see them go out on a date. There's not a lot of that. It's just like the will they, won't they stops here. They are together.
They willed.
Yep.
But not Will. Will didn't will. Will don't they?
Mm-hmm. So, after looking through the data for a few weeks, Jeremy not only finds a way to free William, but he finally finds a way that can put a stop to XANA once and for all. Instead of individually destroying the replicas until they find the one that XANA is housing its main program on, Jeremy devises a multi-agent system that will seek out and destroy XANA anywhere on the internet. And they first use that to free William from their clutches, from XANA's clutches. And they take like a day to finalize the anti-XANA program. And William coming back to Earth is a really interesting moment because he doesn't remember anything. When you get Xanified, your brain just fucking takes a backseat. It's not like it's not like how
It's not Purple Man.
Yeah, it's not Purple Man. It's not the aliens from Animorphs. It's not like you see it all as it's happening and you can't do anything. It's just straight up, one moment you're with your friends, you're fighting monsters, and then this big squid thing comes, and then you wake up in the scanner and you're like, what happened? Did we win? Did I get devirtualized? What was that? And because they've spent so many months fighting him directly and him being like XANA's Darth Vader, they're all like really hesitant to trust William again, especially because he ran off half-cocked like they specifically told him not to and got himself possessed. So they start giving him the cold shoulder, and he is just like, what the fuck? That wasn't me. I didn't mean to do that. I was being possessed. And Aelita even kind of argues for him, like, hey, XANA did that to me a bunch of times, and you guys never got mad at me. We need to give him a second chance. So when they go to run the multi-agent system to get rid of XANA, he shows up and is like, hey, I want to be a part of the final mission, please. I have a score to settle with XANA. They basically decide to compromise of, you hang out in the computer lab with Jeremy. If we need backup, you can go to Lyoko, but we don't want you there if it's not an absolute necessity. So while that's happening, of course, XANA's not going to be taken down so easily, so he activates the tower, repossesses William, starts attacking Jeremy, and so Yumi and Ulrich allow themselves to be devirtualized so they can go to Earth and fight William, and they do that. They end up fighting out into the greater assembly line of the factory. Aelita and Odd are running the program. We're getting the program finished and running it in Sector 5. And up until this point, while they've been getting ready for the final mission, Aelita's been having dreams about her father dying, about her father being killed by the monsters on the Lyoko, and they're all like, don't worry, you're just having that. Again, they don't fucking trust her. They don't just go like, oh, hey, you've had weird dreams and visions and shit, and like, it's always come true in one way or another. They should be like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do this, maybe something bad's gonna happen. But they go to run the program in Sector 5, and it doesn't work. The supercomputer is not powerful enough to run that program, and they're like, oh shit, what are we going to do now? Franz Hopper shows up. I don't know where he gets it from, but he gives them excess energy he's brought with him, and his own energy. He sacrifices himself to give the supercomputer enough power to run the program that deletes XANA from every computer connected to the internet, and presumably just gets rid of XANA once and for all, but he dies in the process. And the last scene of the penultimate episode is Aelita steps out of the scanner and she just starts crying. She just starts weeping for her father, because even though he went crazy, even though he was a bit of a paranoid asshole, and some of the stuff he did led to her life getting completely fucked up, he was still her dad, and she's really, really broken up about like the last connection to her past being gone. I'm trying to think. I think there was one other thing I wanted to mention about this episode before we get on to the finale. Oh yeah. When XANA is dying, the way it's visualized is like these little sort of glowing orbs come out from the core of Lyoko. They go around. They make all the monsters across all the sectors explode. They go out into the internet. They explode all the replicas. And while this is happening, the possessed William just starts convulsing, and a specter flies out of him, turns into like a screaming mouth, and then just evaporates in the air. And like it's animated in a way that feels genuinely chilling. Like they won, but the thing they were facing was more horrifying than they could have originally imagined. So that leads us into the final episode of the series. The penultimate is called Fight to the Finish, and the final episode is called Echoes. And that's because, unlike a lot of other shows where it's just, hey, we go out and we beat the bad guy and it's done, Code Lyoko actually takes a minute to sink in, like, oh, wow, it's over. We did it, but what is that? How do we move forward from here? What's going to happen from here? Like, there's literally a moment at the start of the episode where they're going to shut down the supercomputer, and Jeremy can't bring himself to do it, because he's like, this has consumed our lives for the last year. What happens next? And they spend the whole rest of the episode processing that. It does go into clip show territory. They do re-show some footage, but it's all done from a character place of like, what did being a Lyoko warrior mean to each of our main characters? Let's see some clips of that. And it's only for like a few seconds apiece. But ultimately they do go ahead and shut it down because they make the resolution of like, hey, we don't know what the future holds, but whatever it is, it's going to be easier than this. And like upon this watch through, that happening really impressed me because I've only ever seen one other show do that, one other kid show do that, and that's Tokume Sentai Go Busters, which didn't air until like 5 years after the finale of Code Lyoko. What's up?
Avatar: Last Airbender.
That just has like a few minute wrap up scene. It's not a whole episode.
I mean, there's a bunch of anime.
I didn't watch anime as a kid. I wasn't a fucking weeb. I was
No, you watch other weeb shows.
That's true. What would the French word for weeb be? I guess you could say it was that.
Weeb.
I did watch a little bit of Totally Spies, and that's also a French show, but I wasn't as into it as I was into Code Lyoko.
It's a far weirder show, my man.
Oh, yeah. But that is basically the main plot of the show. It's what I consider to be the story that you need to take in. There is some post-show stuff to get into, But before we do that, let's do a little detour. Let's talk about the video games, because there were free video games for Code Lyoko. Code Lyoko, the game for Nintendo DS, which was basically just the first 2 seasons as a JRPG. And the Earth sections were done as like sort of point and click adventure game type stuff, and then the Lyoko sections were done as like real time RPG combat. And it was really good. I had that game as a kid. It felt very immersive, very accurate to the show, because they almost completely ripped the scripts for each episode. But because of that, there's so much in it that it was like, oh, I've already seen this. I don't need to play through it as a video game. And so it took me years to finally get up the gumption to beat it. Then there was the Wii game. I believe it was called The Quest for Infinity. I only rented that once. It wasn't great. It kind of just jumps straight to William being possessed by XANA and deals with some of that stuff, but it doesn't quite get up to the finale. Then there was obviously The Fall of XANA, which was a DSi game. It's more of a straight-up turn-based JRPG, and it covers everything up to the finale. It is the whole final arc of the show. I would recommend the game and Fall of XANA if you want to experience the story that way. It's honestly not a bad way to go about it. I haven't played enough of Quest for Infinity to say if it's worth playing or not. But then we go into post-show material, and I've put that all in its own section here along with the merch, and I've covered it in different texts because, to me, none of this is actually canon, especially because none of it has a proper ending. The first thing we had was there were a series of novels that were released in Italian first, and the last 2, there's 4 of them, and the latter 2 were never translated and released properly in French or English. Only the first one was translated into both French and English. The second one did get a French translation. However, you can read them in English now because several fan sites have translated all of them. And I'm going to be honest, I haven't read any of those. I've glanced over plot summaries a couple times. Basically, they don't go into too much detail. It's just sort of a genuine XANA comes back and the fight continues kind of thing. Then there was an initiative called Code Lyoko Reloaded. It was an attempt to bring the show back and make it more of a big global media brand for Moonscoop. And that led eventually to Code Lyoko Evolution, which a lot of people will know as the show where instead of 2D and CGI, they did live action and CGI. And I'm going to say just right now, I think Code Lyoko Evolution fucking sucks. It's a lot slower than the original show. It's a lot more awkward than the original show because they're working with actual child actors, and they don't have the effects budget to make any of the XANA attacks look really impressive. Like, there's an episode where XANA possesses a little kid as his attack, and like the first thing he does is just runs up and tries to grab Aelita, but the kid doesn't even come up higher than Aelita's stomach, or the actress for Aelita's stomach, so it just looks like this kid is trying to hug Aelita, and that is how XANA is attacking. It's unintentionally hilarious. Also, none of the original show staff were involved with Evolution. Like, they had Sophie DeCrusette and Jerome Muscadet on it as creative consultants at the beginning, but they left because of creative differences. And I think that has something to do with why some of the story in Evolution isn't that interesting. Because the story is basically, William becomes more of a full-fledged Lyoko warrior because XANA comes back, and they have no idea how. They're just kind of countering him as they can. A new girl shows up at school and worms her way into the Lyoko Warriors, and for a minute you think she's going to be like a romantic rival to Aelita, even though like Aelita and Jeremy seemed like they were completely in love with each other throughout the whole original show. And then in the season finale and series finale, because Evolution never got a second season and it never got its plot resolved, we find out that the reason XANA came back is because France Hopper's lab assistant from Project Carthage married Aelita's mom, got the data for XANA, and recreated him because he's an evil stepdad who wants to take over the world. And also, the new girl who gets into the group is his daughter from his first marriage. She's like a double agent. And that's like meant to be a big reveal of like, oh, that's what happened to Aelita's mom, and now we've got a new human villain to deal with. How are the Lyoko Warriors going to stop this? Who fucking cares? Because that's completely stupid and contrived, and it's never going to get resolved. Because after Evolution finished airing its first season, and it didn't get as promising returns as they wanted, Moonscoop got bought out by a company called Doggard Media, who basically just broke them up and sold off their assets and took Code Lyoko and threw it onto YouTube to reap ad revenue eternally. That's why there are so many Code Lyoko official YouTube channels. There's one for each dub, because it's just there to earn ad revenue for this company that doesn't actually care about it. Code Lyoko is kind of in a weird IP landscape right now, where there is sort of a simmering hardcore fan base online. The hashtags and the subreddit are still fairly active to this day. I see a couple new posts in the subreddit every day, but there's just not enough interest to get it brought back, and I don't think anyone at Doggard Media actually cares. What's up, Boingo?
Would you say the franchise is in a Pet Cemetery mode where it's better off dead?
Potentially. I mean, if it were to come back, I wouldn't want a continuation of the original show. I would honestly prefer a reboot that maybe takes a different approach to a few things, maybe tries to make the mystery plot more spread out throughout the entire show, or at least better integrates it into the original plot, because the whole Aelita is actually a human thing that wasn't their initial plan. They basically decided to do that because so many people were writing fanfics of what if Aelita was actually human during the first season.
Honestly, I can immediately see like how to immediately do a reboot. You don't talk about XANA for the entire first season. Mysterious shit just happens and they figure it out, and it's much more like Digimon. Yeah. Or like they go through the internet and real life, they have to figure things out, and then the final episode, the final like bit of it, they go into the computer.
That would be fun. I could see like a Netflix show doing that.
It would be boring and completely lose the whole exciting point of the show.
Okay, you could give it a different tone. It would be more of a mystery initially than an action adventure.
Okay,
but who would it be for at that point, if not the original fans?
Yeah, no. Why don't we do that? Instead, it's 12 episode first season. The first 6 episodes, you do it like that.
Isn't that just?
I mean, that would. Here's the thing. There's a lot of stuff since Code Lyoko that has reminded me of Code Lyoko. Like, this whole show kind of generally informed my taste in media for the rest of my life. Like, I know a lot of people don't really care about it anymore, but I still really like Stranger Things. The first season really reminded me of Code Lyoko, especially with the like Netflix reboot you're describing there, Chris, because it does kind of have that plot where there's like that whole first chunk of episodes where they're trying to figure things out, then somebody goes to the Upside Down and gets Will back, and they have that whole plot of trying to repel the Upside Down, and that ends up getting stretched out way too much into later seasons. Yeah, like Tron Legacy, before I knew that Code Lyoko was inspired by the original Tron, I was just like, this is just the live-action Code Lyoko movie I've been wanting for years when I first saw it. The whole, like, girl who needs protecting with a mysterious past thing, that's President Kamen Rider Wizard. Just a lot of like things I like in media come from this show, especially my obsession with toys and weird toy industry history, because there were toys for Code Lyoko, and I wanted to save that for the end because I knew that would be the most fun for Snow Cone, and it would be sort of interesting to get into because the history of Code Lyoko toys is a little bit fucky. The first line of Code Lyoko toys, because there's 2 different ones, there's one based on just the Season 1 stuff that was made by Marvel Toys, aka Toy Biz, after Marvel bought them out and forced them to change their name and like drove them to bankruptcy within a year. I had a few of those. There was a couple sets of minifigures, and then there were like 5-inch scale super articulated figures. There were figures of the Lyoko warriors that came with scanners, so you could do like a gimmick of somebody getting scanned into Lyoko. There were figures of them with their vehicles. There was an Aelita that came with a tower interior sort of diorama. What's up, Snowcone?
Can I look up pictures of some of my cell phone?
Yeah, fucking go for it, bro. I had Ulrich with the overboard. I had Odd with a scanner. I had Yumi with the overwing, and I had the Mega Tank. The only monsters they made for the first wave of toys were the Mega Tank and the block. They would eventually do a crab Build-A-Figure for a second wave, which was essentially just the original figures repackaged with Build-A-Figure parts instead of the vehicles or the scanners. However, my Odd did not last long because those figures were very fragile. They were probably the most fragile toys I had as a kid. I broke the neck joint on my Odd like within the first day, and it caused me to handle the other ones with kid gloves for the rest of the time I had them, because before I realized that these toys were super fucking rare, I did resell them at one point in a garage sale. So someone out there has my Ulrich, my Yumi, and my Mega Tank, and I'm probably never going to see them again unless I buy new copies of those toys, which I do want to do, but the fact of the matter is all the Code Lyoko toys demand insane aftermarket prices. Like, we're talking $75 per figure at bottom line. Like, most of them get much higher than that because the Marvel Toys line was only available in the West and France, and it was only sold at Toys R Us. So it was pretty limited. And then there was a second line of figures by a company called Simba Toys that was only released in Latin America. And that's based off of the Season 4 designs. They made a figure basically everybody who wasn't like too big to fit in the packaging that they had designed. Like you got Mantas, you got Congers in that line, you got all the new Code Lyoko warriors, you got Xanafied William, and you also got figures of the Earth forms of everybody. There's like a big box set you can get that's just like the Earth form of everybody and the Lyoko form of everybody, plus Jeremy. That's one thing I definitely want if I ever get like crazy money and decide I'm going to start collecting these toys. Because the only thing that's stopping me from collecting the original Code Lyoko toy line is the prices. I would buy every figure of both the Marvel and the Simba Toys lines if I had the money. And that's also kind of a secret side mission to making this lecture. Plan A is just like, say, hey, Code Lyoko's fucking cool. It's not just forehead jokes and lol 3D printing a girlfriend. There is actually some cool shit that happens in this show, and you can sort of read into some themes that aren't directly spoken there. Like, you can kind of see the trauma shit with the final episode and with Aelita's visions and her past and her dad, but it crops up with some of the other Lyoko warriors. There's an overarching theme of maturity and growing into the person you're going to be for the rest of your life, especially in the final season with the new animation models and everybody just acting a little bit less like a dipshit in that season. And plan B, mission B, is to say, I think it's been fucking long enough. We're starting to hit nostalgia time for 2000s properties and get merch for those. Hey, Hasbro making fucking Transformers Unicron Trilogy toys. I'm not going to say Hasbro should make Code Lyoko figures because that doesn't have a wide enough appeal for them. But there is a company out there I know could make excellent Code Lyoko figures, and it would fit within their business model. Now, they like to mostly stick to 80s properties, but Super 7, with their Ultimates line, I think would be perfect for Code Lyoko, because It's literally made to order. They have the pre-orders up for a specific amount of time, and however many get ordered is however many get made. The figures are super articulated, they're ultra animation accurate, and most people like the hand feel and the build quality. I've only handled a couple Super 7s myself, and I don't currently own one, but here's the thing. If you all go on Twitter.com or whatever social media platform we move to after Elon destroys Twitter, let's all at Brian Flynn, the owner of Super 7, and Super 7 themselves, and say, hey, if you make a line of Code Lyoko action figures, especially Ultimates, the Vacuuminator will buy every figure you make. I don't care if you just make the Code Lyoko Warriors early animation models. I don't care if you make the later Lyoko Warrior animation models. I don't care if you make Earth characters. I don't care if you make one-off looks. I don't care if you make like variants of people looking like they're possessed by XANA from certain episodes. I don't care if you make the monsters, how expensive they are. I don't care if you make the vehicles. I don't care if you make fucking playsets. I will buy every figure in a 6-inch, super articulated, nostalgia Code Lyoko line. I will drop literally every other toy line I am collecting to collect new Code Lyoko figures. That is how dead fucking serious I am about wanting a new Code Lyoko toy. And that is basically everything I wanted to say in this lecture. So, questions, comments, any final closing thoughts we want to go into? What's up, Boingo?
When does Angelomon show up?
Fuck off. Snowcone.
I wish I was not cursed with the knowledge of knowing that this thing exists.
Yeah, the crab Build-A-Figure. It's super cool.
That's
I didn't know that existed until just a couple years ago.
It sure is what it is.
I loved the Mega Tank as a kid. I always wanted the block because I saw it on the back of the Mega Tank's packaging, but I never saw it in person. It looks like it was about as good as the Mega Tank toy was, which it was pretty good. It just had this annoying firing missile gimmick where when you open it, it just immediately shoots a missile, and you can't keep it closed. It's like spring-loaded to pop back open. So, but it looks completely accurate to the animation model, and I loved it. I used it for more than just Code Lyoko action figure adventures. I had that thing fight my Power Rangers and my Transformers and pretty much anyone I could. It was like I said, it was like Droidekas because I didn't have Droideka figures as a kid. That's what fought my prequel Star Wars figures as a kid. What's up?
I had a Droideka figure, and Taylor now owns it because it was my all-time favorite toy. I gave it to Taylor for some reason forever ago.
Damn.
She was doing like she did like this Christmas like sentimental gifts thing, and I was like, well, that's super sentimental to me, but I was also hoping that they would get anything new related to Droidekas, which we don't ever.
Yeah, but we are getting Magna Guards. They did a name reveal for that.
Yeah, I saw that. Yay.
But before we go too far into other toy talk, that is it for the Code Lyoko lecture. Thank you, everyone, for coming out, for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to Modular Media. Share this video with your fellow Code Lyoko fan friends. And the next time some dipshit tries to make a video that says this show is a goofy relic of the 2000s, tell them they're wrong.
I mean, it can be both.
You're wrong.